Morning.
Watch me.
Just watch me now. Just watch me now. I got something for you, a little more for you. You won't believe your eyes. Just watch me now. I got something for you, a little more for you. You won't believe your eyes. Just watch me now. Just watch me now.
Welcome to this dynamic, enthralling, super exciting new industry. And I'm so glad to have you guys part of us today, because you are here to learn how to monetize and how to massively monetize the metaverse in 2025. That video showed it to you in everything. It encapsulated what I want you guys to be aware of today. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you have done or what you currently do. It doesn't matter if you've got a degree. It doesn't matter where you are and what stage in your life. This is going to be life-changing. It is going to be relevant. And you're going to be hearing from success stories from all over the world over the last 4 or 5 months as we've been rolling this program out. And we're just really excited to have all of you here today. So firstly, my name is Mike Eilertson, and I am the Chief Methodologist at methodology.com. And I'm going to be your host over the next 3 days and just really get you into what you need to know about the metaverse, to get rid of a lot of the misperceptions that you may have, and to really take you on a journey that you not only understand how this is going to revolutionize industry by industry, department of every single business, and how it's going to revolutionize the reality that we're currently living in. But most importantly, you're going to be finding out about it ahead of the curve, understanding it long before anyone else, because there's so much misperception. And yet in that, the industries have never been as primed as they are. No matter who we take it to, no matter where we have gone, anywhere in the world, we are closing incredible deals with incredible projects. And that's really what this next 3 days is about. I think as a starting point, just to quickly, we've really exploded into this new market. And this market has removed the barrier to entries that have made it accessible to anyone, anywhere. Before, if you wanted to get into something, you had to have a degree, you had to have experience, you had to be an expert in that space. And that has all fallen away. And for those of you who like dealing with people, imagine being able to set up a meeting with a company, and no matter how big they are, no matter how small they are, where ever, you can walk in there and tell them you're going to increase their sales. You can tell them you're going to save them money. You can tell them you're going to save them plan, timing, and solve multiple challenges that they may face. For those of you who don't like dealing with people, and those of you a lot more in the creative space, this is going to be immensely exciting, because some of our biggest story is the fact that Alex, who was a sculptor 2 years ago, a lady of ours who is a promoter, and another lady who we're working with who was a photographer, all three of them are some of the biggest meta builders right now on the planet. They had never done a day of coding. They had never done, they weren't technical in any way. They were from professions that could not have been further from anything to do with tech and breaking into new industries. And yet they have carved out a profession. They have made sweeping changes to industries. And yet they've done that from the comfort of their own home, doing things that they love, in the sense that they could be creative. They could challenge themselves. They could defy the laws of gravity, do things differently. And yet, not only does this new industry appeal to people who are very good at dealing with people, deal also with people who don't want to be in front of people. They just want to be creative, and they want to work from home, and they want to just do something that challenges them and has them doing something new every day. And that what really makes this so exciting. And that's why I think you're going to be in for a whale of a time over the next 3 days. But more importantly, even this afternoon, there are some great things ahead that I'm going to be telling you about a little later. Up front, I'm just going to tell you, no matter what you are doing, 2 hours and 45 minutes from now, you have to be here. That hour that we cover, where we deep dive our first industry, we cover how to make literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars with virtually no experience at all. I think it's going to get something that's really going to get all of you excited, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. I think something that I want to kick off on and cover early on before we dive into the slides is that everything that you're going to see, everything that we're going to teach you, everything we're going to expose you to over the next 3 days, we have done. We are not a training business that is going out training people how to run a business. We are a real business. We're not talking theory. We do this day in and day out. We do it with tier 1 companies, Vodafone, Baxter Pharmaceuticals, Johnson & Johnson's, you name it. We work with them and have worked with them over the last 2-3 years. And in saying that, though, this is what makes this industry so exciting, is the fact that we are literally jumping on, exposing you to all the mistakes that we've made, all the things that we had to learn, perfect, go back to market on. Because what defines this is that we took gaming software. We took 7 pieces of software that are non-traditional in the business world and have never been used in a business space. And we applied it with cataclysmic repercussions and implications in those industries in a way that is incredibly unique, very easy to get aboard, removes those barriers, and very exciting. And I think that's what really defines the next 3 days. What you're going to be learning has not been done before. What you're going to be learning cannot be, you can go into YouTube, you can learn how to build games, you can learn how to create open spaces that all of our kids will enjoy, but to apply those theories and bring it back to heavy hitting business solutions is really what is going to define this. So I'm excited to be taking this journey. Over the next 3 days, we're going to teach you everything that there is to know on this. There's nothing we are holding back. There's no something that if you don't join us or want to work with us, that we don't give you the secret sauce. I think that is one of the incredibly refreshing and telling things about having a business that is doing this. We're looking to grow the industry. We're looking to grow the business case and the uptake of this. And I think that's one of the big defining factors on this that you're going to see. So this is going to be quick, punchy, hard-hitting. There are times that you are going to be feeling a little overwhelmed and just, it's mind-blowing, which is also why we've broken it into these 3 days to allow you to adjust, to allow you to play catch-up, and allow that excitement and creativity start kicking in when you start applying, going, geez, I can now see how I can apply it to these industries. I can see the type of implications and repercussions this can have. So, with no further ado, let's dive in and give you a little teaser into what this all is. And I'm going to start off with a very easy thing, because how many of you think you know the metaverse? Pop it in the chat, actually. I've got the chat literally lined up for me over here. So any of you, how many of you think you know what the metaverse is and what the metaverse is about? Because I thought I knew. And I thought it was about headsets. I thought it was about having to leave the space that you are in. And I didn't realize, and I thought it was about half cut off people. Like Mark Zuckerberg taught us on Facebook, how you can be running around. It's gamified. It's not overly realistic. It's hard to relate to. It reminds me more of something that my kids play on Minecraft rather than it is something that I could see heavy hitting business solutions that it is solving. So there are 3 things that I'm going to look at achieving with you over the next 3 days. Number 1 is the metaverse isn't what you think it is. And by the end of session today, and by the end of this weekend, you're going to see why everyone is going to be talking about the metaverse, why every industry is going to be changed by it. And that's the first part of my goal that I want to set you out on, is that to explain to you what the metaverse is. The second thing is I want to show you how you'll be able to make ridiculous amounts of income, how you'll be able to commercialize incredibly quickly, regardless of what industry you want to play, where you want to take this. A big part of this is to show you not just what the opportunity is, but how you can go out and make money in it, to make money in a very short period of time. And then the third thing that I want to set out to do is to show you that there are no barriers to entry in this space. Gone are the days where you need degrees. Gone are the days. AI has broken that open. The way you build, the fact that there's no coding has broken that open. And then the fact that a company like ours can work with you in so many different ways, in such dynamic ways, it just has taken away whatever you do, whatever you are, whatever age you have, you will be able to capitalize on this and really be able to take advantage of where we're taking this. But let's dive in and start off and just get you in the right headspace of what the metaverse is. And I'm going to start with a quick opening statement and just popped across there. The metaverse is just the internet in 3D. Now, I really want that to settle with you for a moment. The metaverse is the internet in 3D. If you look at the screen for a moment and you see a normal 2-dimensional website, that is what we are used to. We go onto a normal Amazon, Takealot, Gumtree, whichever you are anywhere in the world from where you're joining us today, you go on and that is what our normal internet experience is. But imagine if that internet experience could be enhanced. Imagine, just picture the notes over here. Every one of you, particularly the lady shoppers who love doing their shopping online, think of you sitting in bed, husband's gone off to bed, you are going on there, you're looking at the latest catalog of your favorite clothing store, and you're scrolling through it, and the best the internet can deliver is a 2D experience like this, where I can see the item, I can click on it, but I don't really get to understand it. I don't really get to be told and taken on a story. And this is where the metaverse kicks in, and this is the type of impact that it has. And I think this will give you context to it. Imagine now, instead of just sitting on your mobile phone, and instead of just scrolling on a normal website like this, that you are on Facebook, you are on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on YouTube, wherever you are, on any social media channel at that moment, you see a banner ad of your favorite store with your favorite new catalog of the new season that is coming out. And as you click on it, instead of landing up on a 2D website, this is the experience that kicks off. 3D space. You've literally clicked from social media and you are literally moving through that store on your mobile phone, on your laptop, on your tablet. You walk into an aisle and you see all the items pop out, so it's easy to see. But the second you click on an item, the normal e-commerce site kicks off in the background. AI allows it to immediately be seen in 3D, so you can see how the fabric falls, and yet you can drag and drop it and put it on a mannequin and dress your outfit, plan your outfit, and yet you are doing that from any mobile phone, any tablet, on any computer. Isn't that astounding? That is a complete movement from where we all thought what the internet, what the metaverse was, to what it is. You've literally been on your phone. The seconds that you're walking through that store, you're seeing the outfits. You're getting that consumer psychology. You're getting to see the outfits in the way that they fall and how the fabric falls. And yet you can literally drag and drop onto a mannequin that is shaped to your body size. And you can plan out your boots, your belt, what you're wearing, how it is coming together. And I see my chat is exploding in the background only here. I could see a lot of great reactions from you on that. Lovely to see that. And yes, I'll grab some of those questions that I see popping up. I'll address those in a moment. I just want to talk about the statistics on that. So let's get to the heavy hitting outputs of what that means. We were on a 2D site before. Do you know that e-commerce has a 37% less close rate than than a normal retail store does? So if I'm walking around a shop front, a normal retail experience, I spend 37% more than I do online. The average spend per basket online is 37% less. Yet, when this was applied across multiple retail stores, across multiple industries, let me show you some of the results that it achieved. The first thing that it ended up doing is that there was 4 times the engagement from consumers when this took place. They spent 4 times longer than a normal shopping online experience. The second thing that was astounding was it had 200% extra lead generation. People were more excited to jump in. People were more excited to explore. So much so, a 200% increase is a game changer in terms of numbers. But I think one of the most staggering numbers is shoppers spent 23% more than the traditional e-commerce site. So you took back all of those gains, a 50% differential from traditional online shopping because of how much more they landed up spending. And I think the most staggering one was this last one, was the user retention. 240% extra user retention, because every time thereafter, you see that ad, you get an email, you get a message, you are clicking on that and coming through to be able to go on that journey. Those numbers are telling and very quickly add up. Let's dive into another quick example. And what I love about this example, this was actually from one of our previous agents. This was beginning of October. We set the scene, beginning of October, end of October. We are sitting in sunny South Africa, out of in Cape Town actually. And one of the ladies came and spoke to us about a huge challenge that they were having in the harbor space and wanted to know if the metaverse could be used to change it. And I'm going to show you in a moment how it did. But just to quickly, tie up the retail one. When you think of the retail experience, that entire thing took less than 1 week to build. Took 1 week to build and cost less than $3,500 to set up. $3,500, and you got a full online retail store. So I'm going to just build on that a little bit. Not only did it deliver that retail store for that amount of money, if you had to think of building a real retail store, think of the brick and mortar, think of the cost, think of the amount of effort you'd have to go to set that store up. But if you have a retail store and you have an e-commerce site, imagine using this to augment it. Why? Because of the fact that every single e-commerce component, anything that is on the internet, can be dragged and dropped and placed into a metaverse. So I want to say that again. This is a big topic that we're going to be discussing today. Anything online, a YouTube video can be dragged and dropped into a 3D environment on a TV, and when you arrive on that, the TV will play. That outfit that you saw literally got dragged and dropped and got pulled into, they went to the e-commerce site and they took the purchase page and they pulled it and dragged and dropped it onto the outfit. And then the 3D space in the metaverse understood that if someone clicks on that, pull up that e-commerce site. So now I'll go back to you. How many of every one of you know a business right now that has an e-commerce site that is selling themselves online, that would like people to walk through their offices, walk through their retail, or capitalize on any item they have on online, their training, their induction courses, their learning management systems, their health and safety? Every one of those are applicable and can be dragged and dropped utilizing the metaverse and can be put in a fit for context environment so people understand it. The fact that you can drag and drop it in gives us context. If I'm doing health and safety training, when I do it in a manual, it doesn't make sense to me on why that's dangerous. When I do it on my phone or laptop in the 3D environment, that I see if I don't do this correctly, I could injure myself, I could cut off a limb, I could get, there could be a fire hazard. Giving something environmental context is a game changer because it gives it relevance, it gives it visual appeal, and it makes it relevant to the business world. And as you saw firsthand, by simply taking that e-commerce site and taking that outfit and dragging and dropping it into the e-commerce space made a huge difference to how you experience it and how it comes together. The metaverse can solve challenging problems and can do so in a way that makes them more effective, tells the story better, and makes them more relevant. Let's go on a little bit further. I touched on that slide a little bit earlier. We're in Cape Town. The lady says to us, listen, the harbor's got a huge issue. Boats come in, they lose days trying to offload and restock due to the complex logistics around trying to get into the harbor and get out. So her company had set up, or the company that she was part of, had set up a tugboat system that went out of the harbor, landed up interacting with the boat waiting at sea, and they had to try converse and interact with each other to hand over what they needed to drop off from the boat onto the tug, or the ship onto the tug. And more importantly, the tug had to refuel them and restock them and give them new supplies. The big challenge, though, is that you were dealing with language barriers. And no one, you could have people coming in from a country that doesn't speak English, trying to react to the people in a noisy environment, in the sea environment, and you're trying to communicate, and yet it's incredibly ineffective. The second thing was that the swell size had a huge impact on how the boats had to come up next to each other and how they would be handing over those items. And the third thing is that you didn't know what crane to use. You didn't know what crane was on the boat and what attachment they were using. So there was a massive amount of confusion, sometimes 2 or 3 trips that the tugboat would have to go back to shore, change the crane, change the bit, or even send a completely different boat, have to pack things from one boat to another. And to do that, to bring it out, to try solve those problems. And I'm going to show you how that problem was solved utilizing methodology, something in an incredibly niche, incredibly specific industry. And this was the outcome of utilizing and bringing the meta into an environment like that.
Cape Town Harbor, a hub of global trade and opportunity. But for years, it's faced a challenge: inefficiency. Ships can lose up to 2 weeks just trying to dock, unload, and depart. That's where a South African business stepped in. Their innovative tugboat solution brought goods transfer out to sea, bypassing the bottlenecks at the harbor itself. But even the best solutions face hurdles, from mismatched tugs and cranes to language barriers between crews. That's where Metodology came in. Using cutting-edge technology, Metodology worked hand-in-hand with the tugboat team to take their concept to the next level. Now, as ships approach the harbor, the crew receives a simple link to an online experience powered by Metodology. From identifying their ship type to specifying the right crane and cargo needs, the system simplifies everything in seconds. And with personalized visual guides, every crew knows exactly what to expect. No miscommunication from language, no delays, no wasted trips. The result? Efficiency like never before. Tugboats are perfectly matched, cargo is transferred with ease, and operations run like clockwork. Together, the tugboat solution and Metodology are reshaping the future of harbor logistics, unlocking new levels of speed, accuracy, and profitability. This is more than innovation. This is transformation. Join Metodology in navigating the future.
How awesome was that? And to the point that you noticed then, and some of the comments that I'm seeing in the chat here, this isn't VR or AR. We'll get to that later and we'll discuss what that could play out and what that could look like. This is accessing this from your mobile phone, from your laptop, from your tablet, seeing it in an environment and context that makes a lot more sense, that brings it to reality a lot easier, and does so in a way that allows people to understand and experience things because it's visual, because it's physics applied. The swells can be taken into account. We can see the type of crane. It shows how we attach it and how you're going to take it off. Language barriers are transcended because of the fact that the visual guide takes you through. This is just a teaser to what you are going to be in for over the next 2 days, next 3 days. But let's dive in. I'll tackle some of the questions in a moment. The differences between 2D and 3D. 2D is flat. 3D gives you depth and perspective so that it gives you a better understanding. It allows me to interact with it. It's a big thing about 2D. 2D is limited interaction. I can scroll up, I can scroll down, left and right. But look at how you can walk through an environment. Look how I could walk through a ship, walk through a retail store, understand it. And yet I can go through it and I can interact with different items in that environment. I can change the floors to see different textures. I can switch lights on and off. I can see what happens if we remove a roof from a building. And all of that can literally happen. The ability to interact is massive. You have the ability to do enhanced immersion. You aren't restricted by some of the challenges in real life. And just a quick example of that. Think of a retail store. When you want to set it up, one of the big things you are inhibited by is the amount of money you have, where you can afford for that retail store to be set up, in what environment what market you want to attract. Now think of that applied to a 3D space. You could set up a store for next to nothing with as big a store as you like, with the most incredible finishes, granite, marble. The realism that you can set up is off the charts. The textures, the experience, the lighting, the LEDs, and yet you can do so with no restrictions in terms of what you can spend, no restrictions in terms of how you want to visualize it, no restrictions in how people even move through it. You literally have the ability to do incredible different things and challenge the type of paradigm shift that the users would be going through. Going on to the next one is that before we dive into today, a lot of what I want you to also understand is there's a huge misperception about what a meta place is and a metaverse. You only would have heard about a metaverse. And the problem with the metaverse is that it is a big communal area, normally online, and you have no control of what happens in that environment. So for instance, let's just say there's Decentraland is a big one. People, if you want to open up a retail store in Decentraland, you can find a plot of land. You might have to buy it for a ludicrous amount of money. And outside of that, you have no control who's going to set something up next to you, around you. You have no control how people are going to interact with it. You have no control in that environment. And as a result, businesses don't want to go near that. No commercial business, no big tier one company wants to put their brand at risk to that degree where they have very little control of what that world could morph to and what that metaverse could become. And as a result, early on in our own business journey in the space, we came to understand that if we landed up calling it a meta place, something that they're in complete control of, it is their world. In that shop example, it is your retail space. You set it up, you in control of it. You link it to the social media ads that you are putting out, your videos. People only come into it. You don't have to worry about what people can or can't do because you've created the rules around that. And that is why a lot of this weekend, we're going to be discussing meta places and the opportunities that come within a meta place. So let's dive in and unpack a bit about what you are going to be expecting over the next, just today. I think as a quick unpacking of it, I'm going to go through and give you an understanding of what happens over the next 3 days. I want you to understand what's going to happen today. I want you to understand what parts are going to happen tomorrow and what you can expect out of tomorrow, and then what you're going to get out of Sunday. From there, I would like to touch a little bit on the background and just for you to see our own company, our own evolution in the space. I want to touch on some of the more boring stuff, the introductions and fundamentals, because you've got to understand where this got to and why it played out in the way that it has and why people have a misperception in the way that they do. But most importantly, having covered a little bit of that history, I want to touch on the why now. Because 5 things took place over the last 18 months that has cracked this industry open, that is making this more exciting than ever. And at that point, I really want to, that's something that's really going to start hitting home. We're then going to get slightly technical for not more than 20 or so minutes. And I'm just going to cover some of the technical terms because a lot of you might not be FA. What is a digital twin? What is blockchain? What is crypto? These scary words that when you bring them down to this and apply them to an environment, you go, I get it now. I understand. I know how to use that. We're going to make you subject matter experts over the next hour and a half that you're going to be feeling very comfortable with those. Then ticket one is a big one. And we're going to teach you what is required to build a metaverse. Before we even open up a software, we're going to talk about the 5 principles that you have to have that if you aren't applying to a metaverse, it is not going to be successful. We have learned this hard. We've learned this regularly because of having to go and apply this. We've learned this in literally brimstone and fire, where we've gone to clients and we could just see it didn't land and we weren't certain why. And these 5 principles are what govern how to build a great metaverse. And then the most important thing, from wherever you are in the world, wherever you're joining us, it's probably about 2 hours and 30 minutes from now, that bonus item you really don't want to miss out. And that is, we're going to be diving into an industry, and I'm going to be showing you firsthand how every one of you can make a small fortune just in one industry by either setting up a meeting or wanting to get involved in our building, however you want to do it. But it is life-changing numbers, and how we are literally changing this industry across America, Europe, South Africa, Africa, even South America. I'm going to show you how that is kicking off and where it's going from there. I also saw a quick question inside the chat saying, do we get a workbook for this? We'll send you a workbook afterwards. This weekend is about listening and learning, asking questions, interacting, and seeing a lot of those questions. And yes, Jesse, thank you. It is amazing. I see you popping through. Luke, also amazing. Can't believe what I'm seeing. And Luke, this is not even, you haven't even started on the good stuff. Bear with me. It's really gonna get kicked off. John Dixon, thank you as well. Loving the fact that you're already loving it. We haven't even started. But anyway, we'll get to those. So, what to expect over the next 3 days? Equally, so you understand what's coming out of today. I want to dive into how we've broken this program up. And we've broken it into 5 tickets. Why? Because I'm going to take you on a journey. We're going to be going to different destinations. Today, we're going to go to the destination of how to build good metaverses, how to create wealth within a metaverse space. Tomorrow, particularly tomorrow morning, is also a very heavy-hitting session. We're going to look at about 15 to 20 different industries: medical, events, retail, pharmaceutical, tourism. You name it, we're going to dive into tomorrow. And I'm going to show you real-time examples, things that you can apply to any business today, things that we have applied and made serious money on, that we're going to show you how we did it, why we did it in that way. We're going to show you other companies that have made 1 or 2 metaverses that work with goggles and haven't made it work on a mobile phone. And we're going to crit them. We're going to end up saying, did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? So we're going to learn not just from what we're doing really well, but where other industries are getting it wrong, where they're too focused on headsets and too technologically advanced, rather than making it simple, practical, heavy-hitting solutions. We're then going to, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to dive into how to build, a quick session on taking you through the introductory models on how to build, because everything is covered in our training module, which you'll be getting, and I'll cover that in a moment. And then day 3, we kick off understanding the ways and different ways you can charge within these spaces. We're going to take you through all the different models. And then lastly, we're going to give you every single recipe, every single supplier, every library and template we have ever done. We are holding nothing back. If you want to go out and do this on your own on Monday morning, you are fully empowered to do so. And I think that's one of the big wins out of this weekend. It is not only life-changing as you're learning, but you literally are empowered from Monday to be like that sculptor, and 2-3 months from now, building life-changing solutions for different industries. Or like some of the other people you're going to find out, Anna, Chuck, Tom, Zonda, and how in literally weeks, they started landing major projects for major industries that run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've earned off it in no time at all. But again, we'll cover that. So, quick one over here. First little bonus you were getting. It is what I'm going to be covering later on today in about 2.5 hours, that bonus. We're going to give you the quick start property pack. This is going to allow you to take this to any architect, any developer, any person selling property, anyone renting property, any commercial business, any architect, interior designer, civil engineer. You put this in front of them and they are blown away by what this does, the problems it solves. And they literally sign within days or weeks of us presenting, you're going to see over 15, 20 reactions of some of the biggest developers in the world reacting to this property solution and how we can go in and how we can help them sell their property, how we help buyers visualize it, how we help rental agents take buyers through properties that neither of them have been to in real life, yet they're walking, changing the floor, switching the lights on and off. This is an incredible pack that we're giving you, and it comes along with an entire intro email that you can send to any property developer in the world with a range of different videos and case studies that you'll see how easy it is for them to pick up the phone and end up saying, we want this, how do we work with you? But a lot about that a little bit later. The second great thing that every one of you attend all 3 days, we give you a login password on Sunday to the training portal and videos. We are talking a 3-month program that takes you from not knowing a single thing about how to build. We explosive, sort of like building in Sims. Those who remember like the Sims and how you could drag walls and build things, we take you through that. Within week 1, you'll be able to build a solution. You'll be able to build a game. You'll be able to build things that literally in 4 or 5 days time you would be able to have out and working. And then we take you on a journey each week over that, and this is all free. There's no costs involved in it. We take you on a journey till you are building things like the retail store. So for those of you who like sales, this is the saley stuff. The want to make money quickly, this is the money pack. That's the property stuff. For those of you who want to work from home, be around your kids, work your own hours, do it in your way. You can learn how to build. You can do it with us, or just take it to industry. And all of the stuff, everything that we have done is in there. And I'm really proud of that. And you'll see a lot of that tomorrow afternoon when some of our team take you through this. And I'm just seeing comments come through here all the time. And yes, we will be covering blockchain, VR, and the 3D world, that last comment. So quickly diving in, a couple of quick story. Our company is called Methodology. And I want to give you a quick story behind that and why we called it that. And that was because very early on, when we started building 3D solutions, we built them wrong. We didn't realize that there had to be a methodology to how we built, and we had to have a methodology when building in the meta. And that led us onto the name called Methodology. The second part, if you quickly look at that logo, the word meta on the side over there is written in the text of the old Roman font. And this is where the Romans, from some of the earliest writings, etched that into stone. And that is because so much of your journey in meta and building 3D spaces is using what the world has and where it's come from in the history of certain things. But the word Dology, that font is the first ever coding language, and that is the font of that coding language from the first programs on the first computers. And the whole idea was that we were going to bring history and good business practice and big ideas to something that is technological, innovative, at the forefront of things. And that was a lot of where our logo came from. But the second part about it is that we knew that we needed something that told it the story and allowed people to relate very quickly. And that is why we created a bubble. Why? Because a bubble reflects the world around it. Wherever you are, if you blow a bubble with your kids, the world that you are, if it's a dark room, the bubble will be dark inside. If there's a lot of lights in there, there's cars around you, that bubble refracts the light around it. And so we felt that we wanted to create a bubble. Why? Because a meta place is its own environment, but it reflects the outside world. But in saying that, one of the biggest mistakes people make that I'll be covering later on today is they make a digital twin. They could make a carbon copy of what a real world is like, and they try to replicate that exact behavior in the metaverse. And that is wrong. You don't want, the metaverse has to be different. It has to think outside of the box. It has to challenge that paradigm. And as a result, whenever we land up doing anything and whenever we use our logo, our word, our slogan, our output is breaking out the bubble. Why? Because you can't conform. You have to step out. You have to reflect the outside world, but you have to do it differently. And that is also why the bubble is misshaped, because physics can be challenged. You can do things differently. You don't have the real world constraints that most people have. And that is where Methodology came from. And as a logo, we're very proud of, because it really captures the spirit of the company, the people that we work, the team that we work with. And that gives you a little bit of a lowdown from there. Going in, and I said, my time till good on time here. Quick story of my own backstory. I, to date, have never written a line of code in my life. So for every one of you thinking, oh, this is going to be too technical or out of my pay grade, you're wrong. I come from selling coffee on the side of the road. My first business, when I was 18, I started selling a breakfast on the side of the road at the corner of Conrad and Jan Smuts. I'd get up at 3 a.m. I was studying at university. I didn't have time to have a job because I had classes from 8 until 5. So I'd get up at 3 a.m. I'd make a muffin. I'd put a snacker in, a series fruit juice, a yogurt, and I created these beautiful breakfast packs that I would go sell to commuters who were too busy to have made breakfast that morning. This was before the days of McDonald's drive-thrus, at least in our country. And the fact that I could sell this on the side of the road just allowed people to get excited about it. And a little story behind that is every week I ended up having a pamphlet that came out that told people about what I do and the lesson I learned from the week before. Because I wanted to create I wanted to create rapport with people. I wanted them to be able to connect. And it's a lot of what you're going to see over the weekend is that ability to connect with the end user and bring down those barriers is so important. And as a result, I put the lesson. And I remember the quick one. The one lesson was, geez, I learned this week, if I bulk buy, I'll end up getting a lot cheaper prices. And I brought my cost to making the breakfast down by 28%. And that is the lesson I learned about bulk buying. And the week after, the lesson was, don't overestimate your sales skills, because I had a whole bunch of yogurts that were starting to go off because I didn't have the ability to sell them. They were perishable, and I'd overestimated my sales skills. And that was a little bit about that story. But what's interesting is on a range of businesses, I was never involved in tech. I had a magazine, I did events, but tech did not come naturally to me. It didn't feel comfortable. The one things I did pick up is that I was working in events at the time, and I got into, let's do the conversion, about a $70,000 hole. I had 6 weeks to be able to come up with about $100,000. I had 6 weeks to come up with $100,000. Otherwise, the business was out. A lot of the events that I booked with a major bank, we did all the bank's major events. They had a tank in their share price, and they couldn't be seen going out and having these extraordinary events when their prices were down. It would have been bad for the consumer image. And as a result, they had to pause all events. And I had booked the venues, paid for the AV, I was overcommitted, and I had found myself in about $100,000 hole. And I only had 6 weeks until my salaries had to be paid and needed to be done. And what I did, I sat back and I looked at where the trends were going. And I saw that there was a huge amount of money moving to tech. Tech was becoming very new, it was very innovative, it was very out there. And yet I realized early on that you didn't need to be a developer to capture and capitalize on tech. You could use little plugins. You could join different pieces of software together, sometimes costing $100, $200, $300 at a time. And yet you could create outputs that were worth $2, $3 million a time. And yet in that, not being technical, even I get emails on my phone, and I think I'm impressive that I'm doing that. I'm filming this from my phone with a couple of computers around here. I couldn't even set that up. Our team who's running our studio right now will tell you how non-tech I am. But yet the big point I'm trying to make here is some industries just make more money, and it is easier in very short periods of time to solve problems in those. And in 6 weeks, literally to the day, I'd managed to climb out of a $100,000 hole by getting involved in a new industry, coming from a magazine and event space, had no experience, no degrees, at an unusual age to try to do it, and had with all of these reasons why I shouldn't have managed to pull that off. And it's been life-changing. I've got to meet some of the greatest people on the globe through it. Richard Branson, Malcolm Gladwell, the Stig, Randy Zuckerberg, Steve Wozniak, who's part of Apple, our own president in South Africa, some extraordinary people, because that's what tech does, is that if you can get in this industry and create ripples and do things differently, it opens up doors very quickly. Building on that, when Methodology launched, my kids were at the age of about 4 and 5, and I realized that I wanted to be in a business that allowed me to work differently, opened up a different type of a mindset. We had just gone into the first week or two of COVID, And it became blatantly apparent as I talked to every one of you online. I see these messages jumping through here even now. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it. It became blatantly apparent to every one of us that the world had to change and the way we worked before was not right. It had to update. We want to all be able to be in a scenario where we can work from home. We want to be able to earn in dollars and not have a cap to what our dollars can be. We don't want to have to work with clients only in our area. We want to be able to reach out to Dubai, Saudi, the US, across Europe, because you can chase where the bigger contracts are and the bigger money are. And you want to be relevant and applicable to that space. And yet you can only do that if you're at the forefront of an industry, teaching businesses, no matter how big or small, no matter how impressive or startup they may be, the fact that you can step in and be relevant to them, to anyone, anywhere, on any device, that is what we set out to do. And we'll come back to that 3 days from today and see if, if you can see how this gets not only ticked, but how it gets ticked in a way that is life-changing, that every one of you can be in a scenario. These can be ticked for you. I do it right now. I'm in my home right now. Kids will be arriving home from school in about an hour or so. And yet I'm doing so, being able to run our business, having had meetings up until 10, 11 o'clock last night with Mexico, 9 o'clock last night with Miami, early this morning with the UK, and yet doing so with clients that the numbers and billings will speak for themselves. Now, for those of you, I would like to just take a quick moment over here because I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I'd really like to get to know you as well. And this really allows us equally over the next 3 days to message you in different ways when you do a lot of the workshops that I want to do tomorrow, that we put you in the right groups. So that I could ask every one of you online just quickly to scan that. You can fill it out over the next 5 minutes as I'm taking you through one or two of the intro videos and some of the more technical stuff. But if I could ask that you can scan that, we'll also be sending that out on the live chat on the side, just in case it's easier for you to click on and go there. But it just allows us to get to know you, your industry, what some of your goals are. And this really helps tomorrow when we dive into the industries, when we start unpacking some of the big earning opportunities, that we can tailor that and tailor that messaging specifically to you. I'm going to give you all a moment there while I also quickly look at some of the quick responses here. Lucy, I love Lucy just talking about how she loves the logo. I can't wait to get the ball rolling and started with it. Luke, I love that type of energy. And Simon, just wait. The property agency and property development, if you're getting this excited already, Simon, wait a moment, because when we get there, I'm going to blow your mind in 2 hours from now. And particularly when you see the income that you can do. And I'm talking, you guys, I'm not even, just wait. If you're getting excited there, give it a moment. I'm going to give you guys another 20, 30 seconds to make sure that link is good to go. And then let's move on. Are you guys enjoying it so far? So I must tell you, this is the first time I've done this online. Done it face-to-face all over the globe. But I must tell you, I'm loving this. I'm loving the energy. I thought a lot of that would be lost. And just your comments are getting me fired up already. So thank you for that. It's great to see how this is translating. Okay, I'm going to move on because we've got still quite a lot to get before our first break in about 40 minutes from now. So I'm going to quickly do an introduction to what the world sees the metaverse at and what businesses are talking it through. And then we're going to take you on a journey how different it actually is. But let's kick off and play this for you as a little introduction to what is the metaverse while you fill out those forms.
The metaverse.
The metaverse. The metaverse.
Let's talk about metaverse.
By now, you've probably heard of the metaverse.
From now on, we're going to be metaverse first, not Facebook first.
But even with all this hype,
and many are betting big that it could change the face of how we interact.
We have to say it's pretty amazing.
the metaverse might still be a little confusing.
What is the metaverse?
The metaverse is basically the successor state to today's mobile internet. It's an internet that is going to be a lot more immersive, more social possibly, a lot more engaging, more 3D. So it's almost like the internet's going to be all around us in some ways, breaking away from our phones, our desks.
The metaverse is going to offer, at least in the way that we define it, let's say it's going to be Web 3.0. It's going to be a world that's going to be more seamless. It's going to give more opportunity for much better experiences, much more immersive experiences.
And to get there, there are a lot of different technologies involved.
It is enabled by many different technologies. So AI, obviously, which is really hot right now, is part of the future state of the internet. AR and VR, 5G, 6G, cloud computing, edge computing. There's an element of blockchain as well, possibly. So yeah, it's kind of how we will experience the future state of the internet. So that to me is part of that beginning idea and concept of how do we make the world more immersive. I think it's important to kind of understand that, especially for the younger generations, for Gen Z, but more so Gen Alpha, whatever happens in these virtual spaces is still very real, right? Just because it happens in Fortnite doesn't make it less real to them. It's very real. It's this continuum of the spaces they inhabit, which can be virtual and the physical world. The friends, the relationships they make are real. For a lot of us that are in this industry, it's also making sure that we explain to people, like, this is a long-term vision. It's a long-term play.
We do have one more thing.
And there are some notable companies making long-term plays on the metaverse. Apple unveiled in June 2023 its long-awaited
Vision Pro,
a mixed reality headset scheduled to be released in early 2024. Tech website The Verge demoed it and called it
the best possible version of a VR headset.
Also in 2023, BMW opened what it calls the world's first virtual factory, a digital twin of a factory that it can run simulations on before actually opening the real physical factory. BMW did this using NVIDIA's Omniverse platform, which its CEO has compared to the metaverse. Epic Games, the developers of the hugely popular Fortnite game, is also deeply invested in the metaverse, after raising $2 billion to advance the company's vision to build the metaverse. The LEGO Group, which announced a metaverse partnership with Epic Games, is also bullish on the metaverse space.
Firstly, I don't think that metaverse is going to be just one platform. I think metaverse, at least in my view, should be platform agnostic. I think that's the benefit of it, is the fact that it's going to actually be agnostic to a particular platform. It's going to exist in different technologies, and it should be interoperable. And I think what's going to power it up is if people are able to move seamlessly through the experiences in the metaverse versus actually being siloed into one particular platform.
So whether it's on Roblox, Fortnite, NVIDIA's Omniverse, and through a Meta or Apple headset, or something else entirely, there are a lot of different directions the metaverse could go. And that's the point, as technology, the internet, and the way we use both of them evolves.
This is not going to go away. The internet will continue to evolve. The hardware is going to continue to evolve beyond our phones. That post-smartphone future, new wearables are going to potentially open up new ways of us to engage with the internet. Those are all things that brands look at towards the horizon. So yeah, the long-term value is that things are moving fast, technology is converging, and a whole new generation that is going to change things is slowly, growing up.
So basically, there is a lot of momentum here. Everyone, if it's headsets, handsets, computers, however you choose to go into a 3D space, people are talking about it. There's a lot of interesting components over there, and we're going to unpack those. And we're going to go quite quickly now, because I want you to get an understanding of some of the fundamentals. I want you to see that this is not new. I want you to understand why now, why is it taking off, and where the opportunities are. So the first quick comment is that, do you know the term metaverse came from a book in 1992 from Neil Stephenson's, where he speaks about this book that people live in a world, and they can literally put on a headset that takes them to a different reality. In that reality, they can interact with AI. AI is very clever. You can talk with it. You can get it to do stuff. You can interact with it, and you could jump from these different worlds, these different metaverses, get completely different experiences. How is it that in 92, someone is writing this? I don't know if that book just guessed really well, or if the big tech guys read that book and said, I like that idea, but I thought that was interesting. But I did want to build on that thought and show you that the reason, as we get into why the now, because all of this has been coming together. So many things had to happen for this to becoming relevant now. And it starts early on. Quick one, I'm going to fly through these. In the 1960s was the first time that someone created a headset. It was done in America. They created a VR headset that could have people visualize and see things on a headset. In 1960, the first VR headset was created. Then you needed the birth of the internet, because you couldn't have VR kicking off and any of the stuff we're talking about today without the internet. And the internet created global connectivity. You then needed things like graphical user interfaces. Why? Because if I walk around a world and I look at clothing, I want to be able to click on it. I want to drag and drop it. I want to be able to change things in that world. So you needed the graphical interface to come around so that you could interact with inside the world. I remember this last one, big flashback for me, 1998, a big game called, it was an MMO, it was called World of Warcraft, a big multiplayer game. Over 5 million people would come on every single day, and you could run around and quest and talk. And I think the big telling thing of that game was the ability not only to interact with people, but there was an entire e-commerce. You could go and learn to do something really well and then sell your skill and your output to someone else who did something else very well. But the point is, this is not new. It has been around, and these things have started building up and coming together. We then get to the fact that virtual reality came around about 10 years ago. And virtual reality, just so everyone understands the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality is when I put on a headset and I go into another world. I don't play in the real world, I step away. It doesn't mean only a headset. I can go into virtual reality on my mobile phone. I can go into that retail store on my phone, but I step into another world. Augmented reality means I take my phone, I switch my camera on, and the world around me, the real world is still there, but things are being augmented over that visual. And the reason those are going to be important to our discussions is that at different times, we can leverage those components. It very much in what is now become a big thing. If we're not going to talk too much about headsets this weekend because we're not that advanced, but I want to really talk about how you can leverage those type of topics to come together. And then the last area is the fact that we can have high-speed computing. The fact that gone are the days where we need big software installations, gone are the days where you have to have CDs or DVDs. You can actually click on a video and stream it. You can pass huge amounts of information, high fidelity, high 4K HD visuals like you're watching right now, and yet you can see all of that very easily. And all of those things were required to bring us to today, and why everyone is now saying that this is going to be the third largest industry in the world in the next 6 years. So repeat that. McKinsey Global says this is going to be the third largest industry in the next 6 years. PwC say that this industry, no matter where, the smallest part of this industry is going to grow at no less than 43.3%. It is an industry that is exploding, coming alive, and creating huge amounts of opportunities for you to take advantage of. A quick story that stood out at this stage, the gold rush that happened in South Africa, in our city in the 1800s. There was a huge breakthrough of it. Everyone rushed out. People came from all over the world to try get the best prospecting sites, to try get the best veins of gold. And in that, do you know the most money was not made by the people who struck gold? Even the people who had found the best veins. The company that made the most money in the gold rush was the company selling the shovels. Why? Because every single company, no matter how big or small you were, if you were a little gold rush or part of a bigger organization, every one of those individuals needed a shovel in order to do what they needed to do. And that's why I call it a golden shovel opportunity, because it wasn't where everyone was expecting it to be. And right now with AI, every day we hear about AI. We're going to talk about a lot of AI tomorrow and Sunday. Everyone's talking about AI. Everyone's talking about metaverse and what the opportunities are. It is not where you think it is. It is not going out to get the gold. It is going out to make sure that you're putting something together that is relevant for every single business, no matter how big or small they are. Like you saw in that e-commerce example earlier, by taking a standard e-commerce site, giving it a 3D space, it made it more relevant and applicable, and yet that could be relevant to any business with an e-commerce site. And some industries just make more money. And that is why when I got into a hole, I knew I had to focus on AI, robotics, genetics, tech. The problem, though, is that the barriers to entry on these industries are incredibly difficult. They normally have degrees, require huge amounts of experience. And yet, in the last 2 years, all of this has fallen away. as you're going to see over the next few hours, this is what makes it so exciting. The industries have fallen away. We're going to show you how easy it is to build. We're going to show you how easy it is to take advantage and sell and get this in front of the right people. And that is really what methodology is about. For ease of explanation, this is not a golden shovel opportunity. This is a golden TLB opportunity. This is the same for those of you who play in the crypto space and has been having a lot of fun over the last few weeks in crypto. Imagine buying Bitcoin as if it was 2015, again 2016. Imagine having the opportunity to get in there and having the yields of the last 10 years being at the forefront of it. That is what we are discussing today. You are arriving and buying Bitcoin. You're arriving, buying something and getting involved in something at the dawn of it, at the time that it is really out to make the most money. So, diving in. What has happened in the industry? What 5 things have transpired lately that has been a game changer to what made my company, my team, set up 18, 20 months ago and says, oh my goodness, we got to get involved. We got to get in behind this. And there were 5 factors, 5 things that happened in such a short period of time that says we need to be all over this. And I'm going to take you through each of those to understand why we're so excited about this now. The first was the arrival of hyperrealism. We are talking about the ability for you to see things that were almost indistinguishable. And I'm going to show you in a moment one of our first ever builds that we did for a major government. It was for GovTech, for Vodafone, Vodafone Global. And yet you're going to see the realism. You're going to see how we could put together a world in 2 weeks. I think it took us 2 weeks to put this entire world together. And the other thing you're going to see, because I'm going to cover each of these in a moment, is you're going to see that we could drag and drop websites, YouTube videos, training elements in, e-commerce, purchases, data bundles that were awarded to people. All of that could be dragged and dropped in with no coding, no integration. We literally went onto Vodafone's website. We dragged their e-commerce site and we dumped it in a mobile phone, and we immediately had Vodafone selling in a mobile phone. We dragged and dropped their widget from their website of seeing the latest phone in the different colors. We dragged and dropped, dumped it in there, and the next thing we could change the way you could interact with that phone, and you could see that in a different environment. Even down to the global launch. I just got a phone recently, a new phone, not a phone, a new phone, and the salesperson had no idea about the specifications. In the metaverse, you could arrive at a product, you could click, or a meta place, you could click on that item and you could have the perfect pitch, all the features explained to you, and done so in an incredible way. And Luke, I don't have a smartphone. Oh, don't worry, Luke, we'll sort out your filling out that form a little bit later. Don't worry about it. We'll address that with you later. But let's dive in. The 5 things that differentiated. I'm going to play a little video of Alex and I. Alex is the sculptor who I've told you about, who changed his stars and went from sculpting literally 1 week to being able to build metaverses. And this one that you're about to see, this meta place that he built for Vodafone, was one of the first he ever did. He'd probably been doing this for 2-3 months. And I want to give you a sense of why hyperrealism is such a game changer in this space.
Thanks everybody for taking the time today. We're really excited to be able to show you about the possibilities that a meta place can house and really dispel some of the misperceptions about the environment. Because a lot of people think that the metaverse is about gamification, it's about a kiddie-like experience, and has a lack of commercial opportunities or propositions. And really, with the arrival of pixel streaming, with the arrival of Unreal Game Engine 5, all of those have now been dispersed and can really, the experience today is to open up a new proposition about how big a meta place can be and really what type of opportunities there are. So the first thing I'd like to point out is this is a city that we're using for today's demo that we've built and literally branded so that you can get the full experience. And the first thing you're going to notice is just the absolute beauty of what we're seeing. The weather on the day, the shadows from the buildings, and you know the reflections and the lighting experiences that you're going to see as we go through this demonstration. But we are talking about ultra realism, this incredible, enriched, fully immersive experience that can happen on your desktop, on your mobile phone, at a click of a URL. literally in under 60 seconds. So going down to ground level, I just want to point out and just spend some time just pointing out some of the beauty of the area. Again, just look at the realism of the shadows and the lighting, and we'll focus on just the type of detail. Let's look at this little red pole, a fire break the glass, safety glass element, and just look at the detail. Look at the chips on the actual paint. Look at the imprint of the break in case of emergency and the little key there. Look at around here, how the tar's texture is completely different to the texture of other areas when you look at the pavement, and the stone of the pavement. And again, how if it's wet or dry, how you are getting different type of lighting experiences. If we go over to that car, again, this is one of the big elements that Unreal spent a lot of time putting together. Look at the light refraction and how, again, you can see the exact lighting and how it reflects and how it moves over different substances. Steel, the curved aspect of the windshield. And again, at any point, if I just remind you that this is not real life, this is something that has been built in order to demonstrate the full value of what the metaverse can be. So starting out in terms of the experience, we wanted to create an area and show you how deep the experience can go and how branding can be so diverse in this area. And we've created this lovely little plaza, and already you can see how we've graffitied sides of the building and how the logo goes over and actually goes into the indent that you see in the building there. Look at how the logo has been put on top of the bus and to the side of the bus. Again, being able to create these enriched branding experiences. And yet if I turn around towards the plaza side over here, even on the ground, our team had a lot of fun playing around. But again, look at the casting shadow that you are seeing here. And I'm going to show you this in a moment in night mode as well. I just want to look at the overarching experience of what you're seeing in the plaza. So firstly, background on the back right, you have a full ad running on a giant screen. And this ad, we can plug ads in on every single screen. You've got the ability to create these incredible branding experiences. If you look around, you can see flying flags that we've put up on the street poles, and how the flying flags have a different type of branding format to some of the posters that are surrounding the flying flags around the clock. And again, you can see how the lighting in the world plays out in these areas. Look at how magnificently lit those screens are and how absolutely crisp the branding is inside this world. And this is really what starts getting exciting about this overarching space. But if I can, and look at here, again, even the trees, leaves showing on that inside board here. But Alex, if I could ask you just to zoom out for a moment. And as we zoom out here, before we actually get down to on the ground, I want to show, can you easily make it a nighttime experience? Let's just show this exact world lit at night. And again, this is one of the real benefits of Unreal. We can easily show different times of day, different weather patterns, and really harness some of those. So Alex, is it easy for you to quickly switch over and do a bit of a change of scenery and make it a nighttime scene for me? Again, here's the powers of B in the meta place. And as you can see, just look again how magnificent the lighting is. This again looks like a full out cityscape. Very difficult to tell that this isn't, again, absolutely real life. And what I love about this, again, how the team put together the branding, you'll see that they backlit those flying flags and they backlit those posters. So as we go down to the ground here, look at how even in the evening, your branding experience isn't compromised, and it can as equally be enriched as you're seeing over here. Shadows have fallen away now because they're not as applicable with the current lighting scheme that has been applied, but yet look how absolutely magnificent that branding is. Okay, moving on, let's get boots on the ground and give you the full experience. So the metaverse is more than about just these beautiful areas, but can be really create some incredible interactive engagement areas. And the first I want to show you is the seamless experience between traditional web and Web 3.0. So you arrive here, we click F, this is normal Google. We are pulling the normal Google flat experience into the metaverse. Alex can search Vodacom. Alex has put Vodacom in quickly just to show how live this is. You can type Vodacom, And there you are seeing full out normal 2D web experience inside the metaverse. And this is really starts opening up your minds to, how you can pull intranet in, Zoom calls, interactions, inventory systems, LMS, training. And more important, you can see how this can be used to create in-depth training, in-depth showcasing of various products. We'll close this off and show you a different way of bringing that experience in. So what we've done is we've created a little form builder. And in this case, if I can find 4 tokens in the world, the 4 Vodacom spinning logos that we put here, we put more than 4, but if I find 4, it will immediately open up a third-party form for a form capture where I could win a win and spin, capture my details, procure an element. But you'll see again how you can create these actions that transpire live inside the action environment. So as we get to the 4th token here, there we go, an instant ability to pull that into the world. And again, this is a standard third-party form that we're filling in, can submit, can capture, and yet it can manifest itself in the 3D world of a metaverse. And to close this off, when we talk about e-commerce proposition and engagement with a handset or business opportunities, this screen we linked to the Vodacom business website. So going in, created a bigger screen. So again, we wanted to show you how we could play with real estate. But there is the vodacombusiness.co.za site right now live, appearing inside the metaverse. So you can link pages, products, information, audio clips, spatial proximity, video elements. At any point, I could click for help and someone could appear next to me. And the whole purpose of this little demo that we put together today is to capture the type of experience we can put together for your conference and your exhibition coming up, and how this can be used to demonstrate training, how this can be demonstrate induction processes, how this can be used to demonstrate how branding in the world will manifest itself, how it will be used for commercial showroom interaction experience. And this is even before we've plugged in other people, the audio and the video. So hope you've enjoyed today. It's been an absolute blast putting this together for you, and we're excited to be able to pick this up and take the discussions further. So thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please be sure to reach out.
So that was one of our first metaverse builds 18 months ago for Vodafone, and breaking into this world of how we could take gaming software and turn it into business life outputs. And yet we were still using metahumans. Like we've evolved from there, as you're going to see later on today. We've evolved to just delivering heavy hitting solutions. But already, all I wanted you to get there, ultra realism and why that was a game changer. The second thing I want to quickly dive into is the ability, what we call software streaming. And software streaming changed the game. Why? Because you didn't have to install software anymore, and you didn't have to have a headset. You didn't have to have a fancy phone or a tablet. You could literally at any point see something online, click on it, and a second or two later, you could be in that experience. So just to give you context of that, I pulled up the slide that we're taking through a little bit later. You are on any social media channel. You are going about your business. You see an ad of a property that you're like, oh, that looks nice. I'd like to see it. Maybe that'll be something I'd like to buy. And by simply clicking on that banner ad, 3-4 seconds later, you are standing in that property, walking around it, changing it, changing the floors, changing the granite. You get a small idea of where this is going. But the ability to stream software, to have someone click on it and have to go avoid all of the traditional problems of installation, hardware, software, all of that, and just like a YouTube video, deliver it to them and deliver it in an interactive manner, change the game. This is the technicality of how you do it. I'm not going to worry about that too much. But the big thing I just wanted you to realize here is that gave mass accessibility. That was one of the biggest game changers on this. You had the fact that you could make things look ultra realistic, so businesses could understand it, consumers could understand it, and ultra realistic with the fact that people could get into it just with a 2 megabyte connection. That gave mass accessibility. That brought together 2 huge opportunities to start making serious money in the space. The third thing that our own team have capitalized on massively is that you don't have to know how to code. if those of you who are creative and those of you excited about learning how to build, which we cover a lot of tomorrow afternoon, what's nice is you don't have to code. How the coding works in this is that it almost works like Post-its. Those of you know what a Post-it is. And you build an environment, you make the world look pretty, and then you take a Post-it and you put it on the door and you say, you're a door and you need to open 90 degrees or close 90 degrees. You then go to the floor and you go, you're the floor and you are an oak tile and you need to change to a gray tile if someone clicks on you. You go to the light, someone clicks on you, switch it on and off. And by simply putting these Post-its, it tells that object what to do when something does on it. And you do not need to write a single line of code to do this. And what did that do in terms of the 5 things is that allowed our team to be able to build people who had never done coding before, people who had not been exposed to this, started building solutions like the one that you just saw. The next big breakthrough was that we discovered, literally in that video, that's why I brought it up from 18 months ago, we discovered how easy it was to take anything on the internet and make it work in a 3D space. The e-commerce, the training, live inventory systems, walking up to that phone that you saw there. So this could allow you to get environmental context to something. You could walk through a home that you want to buy, but in walking through that home, you see a chair that you really like and go, geez, I like that chair. You could double click on that chair and you could buy that chair there and then, even though it had nothing to do with the reason that you were there. And that drag and drop anything online into a 3D space made this relevant to every single business. Why? You're now not going in saying, I want to replace your e-commerce. I want to replace your learning management system. I want to replace your induction, your training. You go in there and you can go, I want to enhance your e-commerce. Let's get more people. Let's get better results. You've already spent a bundle, spend $3,500 more, and we can revolutionize it for you. You've already spent $200,000-$300,000 on your learning management system and training. And it's in books and you do it on a tablet, but it doesn't have environmental context. Let's make it more relevant. Let's let people understand when they're doing it and why they're doing it. What happens when they don't do it? The fact that you can tell stories using this and the fact that you can enhance, I can see the chat lighting up with these comments. The fact that you can enhance every single business with this drag and drop is a game changer. And I'm going to skip that video and just dive into the next one. And the last little bit, the arrival of AI and the arrival of the ability to scan and the arrival of Web 3.0 has paved the way for every one of us today. What that means is that before, if I wanted to bring something in, if I wanted this glass to appear in a Meta place, I would need to model it. I'd have to use 5 or 6 different programs to make it look real and act in a certain way. Then I'd have to import it into Metaverse. No, now I've just got to go in, and number one, I can either take a photo of it, load it into AI, and says, make that into a 3D model that I can plug into my Meta place. Number 2, I can take my phone, and I can literally, just on a video, do a little scan, I can load it into my Metaverse. And the last bit is that not only did AI and scanning, as you're going to see, allow us to do incredible things in record time with no technicality. The last bit about this is the huge word Web 3.0. The web is evolving. We've gone through Web 1. We've gone through Web 2, which became a lot more interactive. Web 3.0 is immersive. It is the fact that I can engage, I can interact. It is where the internet is going. And you can see exactly what defines that perfectly is that retail experience you saw earlier. You were on the 2D site. It did a job. It was functional. It wasn't immersive. I couldn't engage on it. And yet a click later, you saw a Web 3.0 version where I could walk through the store, I could experience it. And every big business, every small business, everyone is gearing up for Web 3.0 and starting to get ahead of it. And you're already seeing first brands trying to roll out their definition of it. And all 5 of these things set the tone to say, now's the time to make a move. Now's the time to get involved. Now's the time we're going to start trying to learn all this gaming software and try and make it hard-hitting business solutions. And if that wasn't enough of a sign at the time, that very damn weekend, Apple Pro launched their new headset, which I'm just going to play a little teaser of for you in a moment. And the point that I wanted to make on this is that when brands like Apple, which are global leaders in the tech space, are saying this is coming, VR is coming, headsets are coming. I'm not saying today, none of us are going to make money in this in the next year, 2 or 3 years using a headset. We're going to make money because of software streaming and the fact that any business, any consumer, any buyer, any person on their phone can interact with us. But damn, it's good to know that the big brands are bringing these type of software and these type of elements so that because when I'm going to show you, a click of a button makes any of these solutions that I'm showing you work on a headset. So when you watch this video now and you see what the Apple Pro headset is about, imagine us building that retail store and it works for everyone's phone, but you literally click a button and it can also work on people's headsets if they wanted to, and you could get a fully virtual shopping experience. I introduce you the bonus, which is and the last confirmation you need to why now, and that is the Apple Vision Pro.
Introducing Apple Vision Pro. The era of spatial computing is here. When you put on Apple Vision Pro, you see your world and everything in it. Your favorite apps live right in front of you, but now they're in your space. This is Vision OS, Apple's first ever spatial operating system. It's familiar, yet groundbreaking. You navigate with your eyes. Simply tap to select, flick to scroll, and use your voice to dictate. It's like magic. Apps have dimension, react to light, and cast shadows. Even though these spatial experiences are happening inside Vision Pro, it looks, sounds, and feels like they are physically there. Foundational to Apple Vision Pro is that you're not isolated from other people. When someone else is in the room, you can see them, and they can see you. Because you're not limited by a display, apps live in your space, and panoramas wrap around you as if you're right where you took them. Apple Vision Pro brings the scale and wonder of a movie theater to whatever space you're in. It automatically darkens and casts a beautiful glow into the room. And you can make the screen as big as you want. Spatial audio surrounds you and makes you feel like you're a part of the action. And for an extraordinary cinematic experience, you can bring in a beautiful environment and make your screen feel 100 feet wide. With Apple Vision Pro, you can create the perfect workspace, no matter where you are. The web comes to life at fantastic scale. Text is crisp and easy to read. Browsing the internet feels new.
Okay, you got the idea. Apple are behind it. They're excited about it, and the way is being paved. And yes, just to some of the comments, Taryn, I'm glad that you're getting your passion and ideas already going out with some usual industries, and loving your ideas. And again, how you're already seeing how it can go to industries that removed. So you're loving those comments. Thank you. So diving in now, I'm going to really fly through this over the next 10, 15 minutes. So actually we're about 5 minutes behind time. And I just want to give you a couple of big outputs. What's really exciting is that even the stages of technology adoption is in line with us in terms of why now and why people are getting so excited. In 2014, the first stage, which is called the innovation stage, took place. And what happens is Apple bought the Oculus for a bundle of money. And you don't want to get involved in any industry when it's in the innovation stage. Why? Because the money curve goes down. You can see that giant red line, bundles of money being poured in, but it's not making money yet. we get to 2020, which is the early adoption stage. And in 2020, Apple now decided, Facebook decided they're going to call themselves Meta. This huge excitement takes place. There's all this marketing and PR. And 4 or 5 years later, people are like, what happened? You know, we heard about it. Why isn't it taken off? Why? In the early adoption stage, you are prepping customers, you are prepping clients, you are prepping businesses for what is to come. The McKinseys of the world, the PwCs, the EUIs, they start helping businesses say, this is coming. We're coming to the next stage. And if we aren't ready for it, if we aren't ready to take advantage when the majority stage gets here, we're going to be losing out. But yet it still isn't making the same amount of money. And yet we arrive in 2024, which is the early majority stage. This is the game changer stage. Businesses know they need to have a Web 3.0 strategy. Businesses know they have to be capitalizing on AI. Businesses know that they have to be utilizing their online tools more effectively and creating better experiences that are more accessible to their customers and their employees and all their other stakeholders. And this is the money where the serious money is made. This is where we are getting on early January 2025, literally in a call here today, in the last day of January. And this is where the big money lands up in. Because why? People know they need it. They don't know how to do it. And we're arriving there with something that doesn't look like a game, something that's not a headset, something that they can relate to, something that can be accessible to all their people. This is Bitcoin again. As I said to you in 2016, this is Bitcoin again. And the problem is, so many of you, we will be back here 4 or 5 years down the line, and you will look, we get into the late majority, we get into now all the businesses having moved on, having taken advantage of it, and yet the money is not made. You'll still make money there. You'll just make 30%, 40%. You're not going to be making the 500, 600, 1,000% gains as you're going to be seeing as I take you through different industries over the next 2 to 3 days and seeing how that changes. So we are right now to jump aboard. This is why 6 of the magnificent 7 companies not only have Meta Studios, but are heavily involved in 3D. We're talking Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA. For those of you trying to guess what the 7th is, the one that isn't on here is Tesla, and even that has now changed. Tesla even now build their gigabyte factory, trying to utilize 3D space, trying to run certain ideas and affirmations on it, because that's the type of things that it can do. So in closing, before the break, get slightly technical on you. Let's remove some of the big words and scary ideas and just get you quickly familiar with some of these words as we go through. Number 1, you've already got it. Web 3.0, you understand? Web 3.0 is a more immersive, interactive internet. And how can you make something more immersive and interactive? Well, you can make it 3D. 3D, putting it in a meta place, ticks all the capabilities of what Web 3.0 is. It's a lovely buzzword to put it in your emails to any clients, that type of word. Or we can help you with a Web 3.0 strategy. Oh, clients love it. Love it, love it. We'll get to that tomorrow. Next word. Squeeze my eyes here. There we go. Digital twin. Digital twin means that you take something that exists in real life and you make a carbon copy replica of it in a meta place. So a factory, you can make a twin of it. You could take a retail store and make a twin of it. But we're going to discuss that because I want to challenge that, because yes, a digital twin is a good starting point. It should not be the ending point. Why? Why would I, if I take a store that's 50 square meters and I want to make a digital twin, why would I make it 50 square meters? Why wouldn't I make it 100 square meters? Why wouldn't I push the limits? That's where a lot of companies get it wrong. We'll discuss this just after the break. Everyone uses the word digital twin, but they use it. They don't understand it, because if you take a carbon copy of what's in real life and put it in a meta place, it will fail. We'll come back to that a little bit later. Next word, human interface. That is really the way the end user interacts with your solution. In this case, they can use a wearable. In other words, a headset or something that they put on their arm. They could use their mobile phone. They can use haptic, as the word means touch. You can use haptic gestures on a screen. You can use voice control. But basically, it's the different ways you can interact, and we can capitalize on those, as I will take you through a little bit later. Blockchain, to completely deconstruct any of the big confusion around this, the easiest way to understand blockchain is it creates a sense of ownership and identification to an object. So my clicker here, let's just say I put it on the blockchain, it would get at the number 001. Then if I gave it to someone else and someone else got it, it would get the number 001, and maybe that person's 2 or 3 or whatever their number is, but 0012. They then went and they go give it to someone else, and it'll go 00123. The reason by that is that you can therefore track who at the time owns it, who owns it, number 3 owns it, but who owned it before, number 2 and 1. So the whole weird word about blockchain is that it just allows us to show ownership and track history. So it is very good to build a crypto on a blockchain. Why? Because you can track where that money's moved from, you can move it very quickly, and you can transfer ownership very quickly, because we're not waiting for a deeds office and papers, just a little number that we're adding on the end. And that is why you have a lot of people play that the blockchain space is quite predominant in utilizing this, because it just allows ownership to be playing on, and it's not something we're overly going to focus on. But as a result, you have cryptos playing here, NFTs, which is basically images that you can track back to someone owning it, AI agents. Why? Because you need the AI agent when they make a decision, for that decision to have a thought, to be able to be tracked back from where that decision came. Even our plugins and our microservices, anything you want to use, a microservice is a mini piece of software that you can plug into this. So as an example, a lot of you are in our software today. We could be on Zoom. Zoom is a microservice. I could take a Zoom meeting and I can make it work on my website, and I've plugged a microservice in. And anyway, all of those are working on the blockchain. The next one is AI spatial computing. That is basically, how do we build these solutions? There is many ways we can build them. We can build them with a program like Unreal, which is the program we use. We're going to spend some time talking about that. There's another program called Unity. There's other programs that you can utilize, interact with VR and AR, or even scanning. We're going to talk a lot about geomapping. We use satellites to scan environments. So instead of us building in and around the city, we want to sell property or sell houses in and around the space. We use a satellite to scan that whole area, saves us weeks of building. We do it in an hour or two. But the idea is that it's the tools you use to allow you to build a solution very quickly and very effectively. Then once we've built the world, within the world, we wanted to do stuff. We wanted to make it more. And that is really where your creative tools come in. So for instance, we don't have to go and scan this glass. If I go back to that example, I could just go into a library, and there's probably 1,000, probably 10,000 other people who scan the glass, and I can plug it in. I don't have to go design every piece of little software. I can go find something that meets the problem that I'm trying to solve, and I can plug that in. And it's really just taking other tools and leveraging it into the space. We then have the delivery layer, and that is, how does the end user interact with our world? Well, they can install it as software. We can software stream it to that, or we can download an application on your mobile phone. But there's different ways for people to interact with it. Then it's, well, how do people discover our solutions? And this works hand in hand with the delivery layer, and why else a lot of what we're going to discuss is so exciting. The fact that not only can you discover it on any form of social media, but the fact that when they click on it, the solution can automatically be delivered through software streaming. It's a beautiful little combination, leveraging the reach of social media at a very low cost per click, and getting those people to capitalize and go through that. And then we take that to companies and industries, and we use it to change and absolutely dominate space that they are in. So if you guys haven't picked that up already, the metaverse in this next 10 years is going to be what e-commerce was and the websites were in the 90s, what e-commerce was in 2000s, and what social media was in 2010. Everyone can imagine, remember back in the day, 2012, 2013, if you were a Facebook expert and you were putting your company on Facebook, people were like, are you mad? No one's going to do that. Businesses aren't going to be on Facebook. And yet here we are today, and you can't imagine a world anywhere else doing it. And yet in it, though, before, I remember one of our friends got into social media. And in 2012, 2013, they were charging him $10,000 to $15,000 a month to handle a single account. And these days, you'll be struggling to get $1,000 from one company in just running their own social media. You want to get ahead of it. You want to capitalize on it. And this is just a teaser to where we are going. I'd like to say to everyone, I want you to stretch your legs. You have a 10-minute break. You'll hear the 30-second countdown. We've got a lot still to get through. 10-minute break. We're going to then dive into ticket one and the teaching of how to envision the correct type of space. It won't be a long next session, probably about 40 minutes or so before another quick break. So quickly go stretch your legs. 10 minutes starts now. And put those comments. Those who haven't filled out the form, fill it out now. And I want to see more comments. I want to see more of you telling me cool stuff inside the chat here. Thanks. See you in 10. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a quick chance to stretch your legs, get some coffee, get ready, good to go. Firstly, just love the comments. Taryn, Dimitri, Lynn, Lucy, Luke, Jess again. You know, just the comments, the type of feedback, the ideas you guys are already shouting out over there are spectacular. And I'm glad it's hitting home, and we haven't even begun. As I said, a lot of this is giving you the groundwork so that when we get to the good stuff, you understand it. Because it's all good and well that when you see it, you're like, oh, wow. But if you don't understand the fundamentals of what makes that meta place such a heavy hitting solution and why it is so groundbreaking, you lose out on a lot of the caveats that make it successful. But as a quick start off, I would love to know where you are all joining from today. I've just seen, and I was just chatting to my colleague in the studio, and I saw we put on the South African time zone, and I'm like, no, I think most of the people are from Europe. So if I could actually ask that each of you, please, in the side of the chat there, we're going to put out a quick message. I'd like to know where you are joining from today, which city, which country, just so we can see how local or global this is and start seeing the type of places that you are joining from. Let's see over here. United States, geez, early start for somebody. Utah, Dubai, Spain. Look, South Africa coming in strong there. Just South Africa is still pulling through. But I love the fact that so many people are on such a tough time zone. New York, Utah, those are tough ones. UK, got so many success stories for those of you in the UK, Europe, and the USA that we're going to get into in about an hour from now that you are going to be blown away from. Let's pull it up large there again so I can see there. Thanks, Prashani. Geez, UK is coming in strong over there as well. All places in the UK. I see we got phenomenal coverage there. It's going to be good for one of the solutions that I'm going to talk to you about an hour from now. But London, New York, starting to really come up there with the number. South Africa. It's just so great that on a course like this, that we can traverse time zones, cultures, geographical location, because people like you want to get excited, want to change things up, want to mix things up a little, come up with new ideas, come up to new type of industries. And that was incredibly telling. And it makes me even more excited for tomorrow when we start diving into the industries, because we're going to have so many different perspectives, so many different outputs from there, which again, I just want to remind you, please make sure you fill out that form just so that we can make sure we get everyone into the right type of groups to really give us the most out of tomorrow. Okay, diving in, another quick 45-minute hard-hitting session, then another 10-minute break, and then into a killer close for a little teaser afternoon to let you see where we're going to land up in terms of our first big type of deal. But before we get to the heavy solutions, let's go back to basics. As you're going to see on screen here, this is really around what is required to build a successful solution. What are the type of things you needed to tick? Is, what is it, the real life, bringing it into metaverse and methodology, does it work? What can you do in the metaverse? How should you do? What is a frame of reference? And why is a frame of reference important when you build a space like this? And if you don't know what a frame of reference is, don't worry, we will cover it. And then really the 5 steps that we've constructed to do this. And I think what's really great about this before we dive in is that everything you're going to learn in this particular chapter is, you can't learn it anywhere else. This is from our own grit. We literally learned, we didn't understand why some solutions exploded and why others didn't. And we had to analyze, we had to go back, and it came down to these steps. It came down to the frame of reference. It came down to real life trial and error, which again, why this is making it so heavy hitting, because we've been in the boardrooms, we've seen where it's successful, and we've seen most importantly when it has failed and why. And you've got all of those lessons of the last 2 years to 18 months coming together in this weekend, and we'll really understand and be able to capitalize on a lot of those. And yeah, looking forward to it. So glad to see we're so well covered here today. So diving in, first thing is, we're going to really unpack the 5 steps. I'm going to do some of them a little faster, some a little bit slower. But every time you're going to build a meta place, every time you're going to crit a meta place, every time you're using us to build a Meta Place, one of your clients or your solutions, you have got to apply these 5 steps and go, have we achieved these or not? Because these achieved result in massive uptake or in a metaverse failing. And the first one that I want to kick off on as we go down on this journey, and that is that the importance of the objective. And this might seem basic, but it really isn't, because you're going to see an example in a moment. You get so distracted because we can do so much, and there's no limitation to what we can build, because you can build big spaces, you can change physics, you can make it rain, you can put light on. There's no limitation to what you can do. You very quickly get distracted by what that Meta Place is trying to achieve. So the question is, what is the core objective that you're trying to solve? How will you know when you've achieved success? And very often the sentence that I use with our team, even as early as 3 weeks ago, we had a solution that they were looking to build, and we had to go back to the basics of this and say, no, you guys forgot this. Go back. What is the goal that we're trying to? This solution has to do what, which results in what. Good easy example. We were phoned by a major global corporate company, and they had 3 floors in their head office that they needed to rent out. Post-COVID, they weren't using it. These were major spaces, could probably have about 1,000 people per floor. And they came to us and they said, listen, there's furniture everywhere. There is cables hanging from the ceiling. There isn't even an entrance. We're going to have to build an entrance where the fire escape is to make it look awesome and classy. But we are looking to rent the space out. And the challenge that they faced was that you couldn't, if you brought any person in real life into that space, you wouldn't want to rent it. And our team started building, this was probably about 8-9 months ago. And they started building this incredible property solution. And they started putting together a plan that was going to take them 5-6 weeks to build. It was going to have incredible realism. You were going to be able to see the texture of the carpet that you could zoom into. You could see every fiber. You could see every detail of the desk. And we stopped them literally 24 hours in and said, guys, we dropped the ball on this. What is the objective? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what is the objective? They're like, to build the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor of this entire building to let people see the whole office park. No, it's not about that. The solution has to get a rental. Sorry, the solution has to be showcased in such a way that it gets a rental. And most important in that objective, not just has to be showcased, it has to be showcased quickly in order to get a rental. They were on a 60-day window that they had to have this office park rented. So if we were going to spend 6 weeks of our 60 days making this thing look off the charts realistic, all the grains of the carpet, yes, it would be beautiful. Yes, people would end up being able to walk and go, this is a beautiful space. But would it achieve the objective? No, because we'd only have 2 weeks left in order to get that rental. Alternatively, we could build that in 2 weeks. We could make it 70% realistic. You could walk through that venue, it could understand the space, you could see the desks. Yes, if I zoomed in all the way in, I might not see the exact depth of the grain. But that is for something if you're selling a luxury home. That is for something if you're selling someone a permanent space. This is about trying to show good use of space, good use of environment. And if we had built it to the original plan, we would have failed the objective. Yes, we would have built a Meta Place. Yes, it would have been beautiful. Yes, it would have been immensely interactive and immersive. But would we have achieved the objective of renting it in 60 days? And the answer is no. We would have put ourselves under tremendous pressure if that was the case. Instead, within week 1, we had an MVP. You could walk around the entire campus, the entire office park. And by early week 2, we already had it that they could send it to different businesses locally and abroad for them to be able to look and understand the space without even jumping on a plane, and they could understand it and understand the way that it still looked beautiful. The space was open plan. You could see the type of art of the possible. We could showcase it with different furniture layouts, and yet we could do so in a way to meet that objective. And people get this wrong all the time. and hence the reason I wanted to dive in and show that to you. The next little one before we go a little bit further in is the frame of reference. And this is probably one of the more important elements that we're going to touch on. Why? Because it allows you to get an understanding onto your end user incredibly quickly. So just again, example of that. Frame of reference allows the end user quickly to understand what it is, how it works, and what you need to do. So if we use that in the retail example, that little video I played for you a little bit earlier on, the second you saw that, by just looking at it, you understood it was a retail store. By just looking at it, you understood they sold clothing. And just by the layout that they adopted, you understood that you could walk around. You understood, without me telling you anything, that you could click on items, that those items probably had a way to be able to try it on or not. You understood immediately that you could probably look at that dress in more detail and turn it around. And you understood at a fundamental level that by simply double clicking on it, I could pay for it on a site and it would be sent to me. That is a frame of reference. That exact solution, let's for ease of example, say we put it in space, on the space station. You arrive and you see a space station and this big space station arrival. Yes, it's epic. Yes, you built it. Yes, it could have the most incredible views ever. Yes, it would be mind-blowing for someone to walk through. But immediately they wouldn't understand what it is. They wouldn't understand what is expected of them. And they wouldn't understand how to interact effectively with it. And frame of reference just allows you to make sure, because most people, it's the same as websites, most people only give you between 10 and 20 seconds to hold their attention. Otherwise, you go, I'm out. You only have to know that for every one of you who watch YouTube videos. You watch YouTube videos, that's why TikTok is so big, because it's a quick thing and that's the end of it. On YouTube, if something doesn't catch your attention in the first 20, 30 seconds, you're out. You're like, no, I'm done, not interested. And that is even more so in this type of place. To create a meta space that is successful, you have to immediately have environmental context. People understand what it is. It's got to let them understand the sales cycle far quicker. And it creates subconscious points of reference and an expectation of what is to come. And the reason I say it's important, you're going to see this tomorrow. And we're going to go back to this every single time. We're going to interrogate this. Right now, I'm just teaching you about it. Objective, frame of reference. But tomorrow, every single time I put a new industry in front of you, Mike, was the objective met? Was the frame of reference good? Did you understand what it was or not very quickly? And this starts becoming more and more important, is that you need to give them the user reference points that they understand, digital twin reference points that you can bring in, that they understand. But you got to be careful, because too much frame of reference becomes boring, and you'll see what I mean on that in a moment. The dilemma we face with frame of reference is that if it's too relatable, you understand it, it creates no surprise and delight, no excitement, whereas you want the people to get shocked. You want it to do something surprising. You want it to step out. So you've got to keep the frame of reference there, yet you've got to try challenge that frame of reference. So again, I'll just go back to retail. The frame of reference, you understood it was retail. You walked in, you knew what to do. But how cool was it when you clicked on that item and it popped onto the mannequin and you could plan your outfit? You could plan what shoes you wanted, what belt you would go along with it, and you could see the 3 or 4 different items without having to run into a change room. How cool was it that you could see how the fabric fell based on that type of fabric utilizing AI? So there was frame of reference, but you didn't keep it all the way through, because otherwise when you pulled off that item, it should have looked like a floppy rag. It wouldn't have carried over and done it that well. The next one that to date I still haven't found a total reason on why it would be required, and that is the single player or single user versus a multi-user experience. The idea is, in any meta place, you can make it multiple user or you can make it single user. And everyone naturally defaults to go, oh, I need it multi-user. People can run around, they can talk with each other. But if you actually think about it, how often you need that, because it adds so much more complexity. With multi-user, just so you understand, if you were trying to software stream your solution, you would have one solution for user 1, you would have another server for user 2, And then you'd have to have a third server whose only job it is to say, user 1, this is where you are, user 2, this is where you are, so that they're aware of each other while they move around. So it literally not only doubles, it triples the complexity of a build when you're trying to put something like this together. Whereas you'll see, as I'll take you through every industry and every solution, that as we go through it, that 99% of the time, it is a single user is all we need. We can go in, we can do our shopping, we can go in, look at property, we can go in, get our medical diagnosis. You don't need there to be other people or other consumers or other people running around with you. And I'm yet to find a case where it warrants the extra time and complexity. We can build things somewhere between 2 weeks and 6 weeks to build incredible off-the-chart solutions. And I'm talking one member, maybe 2 team members. And yet by making it more than one person, you double, triple the amount of time and the complexity. So step 1, objective. Step 2, frame of reference. Step 3 is, does multi-user add more, or can you get away by cleverly using single player or single user? And you'll see what I mean on that, because just because there's a single person doesn't mean that you can't leverage other tools to do it. So what I mean, to bring other people in. So what I mean by that is that I could be walking around a house. I could be looking at this environment going, oh, this is great. But if I wanted to talk to a real estate agent, instead of making that real estate agent pop in as another person and making it complicated, I could just drag and drop Zoom in there. I could drag and drop WhatsApp. I could drag and drop Google Meet. And there could be a big button that as the person walks around is on their display. And whenever they want to talk to a real estate agent, they click that button and the Zoom rings, the phone rings, the Google rings, the MS Team rings. I get the feel of more than one person. I get to have questions answered, but I don't get that at the cost of complexity. See a lot of questions popping over here. Prashani, if you don't mind just putting the link to the form inside the chat. A couple of people haven't got it and they're still looking for it. So if you don't mind just popping that on in the chat when you've got a gap, no pressure on that. Okay, so I need to take you guys a little down a journey. Prashani will tee this up in about a minute or so. Give you the lowdown, and you're going to go through this exact experience. So don't worry if you get shocked, and don't worry if you don't like what you're about to see, because let me give you the lowdown. I have seen these 5 things come about. The ultra realism, the software streaming. I'm so excited. We've set up an entire meta division. We've brought in people. We've transformed sculptors into these incredible builders. We've transformed photographers and promoters and models and people who've never done it. We've bought these computers. We are going for this massively, but we are yet to have built our first meta solution. We know that it can be applied to business. We know that we can come up with ways to do it. We're learning gaming and trying to apply it back. And yet in this time, the New York Art Museum create an experience and they launched their first meta place that was on all the big newspapers while I was in the US at the time. It was all over the place, and they had launched the first ever meta museum. I could not wait. I was on my phone. They were software streaming it. I clicked on it. I was so excited, and this is what played. So I've arrived in the experience. I clicked on the link and I'm in this room. And this is literally the video that I took afterwards to explain to the team. I was like, okay, now what? So I ran, this is still the time when they were using little avatars and I couldn't move it easily. And I ran up to something else and I could see it. And some of these were some pretty famous pieces, but I didn't know that. So I was like, okay, well, now what? So I ran around a little bit more and I couldn't quite see the pieces. And I just started running around here, just going, I'm seeing all these paintings around here. And some point over here now, I'm standing on one of these pieces, I'm starting to get anxious. I'm like, this isn't so cool. Well, that door doesn't even open. What am I meant to do here? Like, yes, I can see that, but I run up to it. I can't display it easily. It doesn't. Okay, let me try something else. And the anxiousness, knowing what we had just invested, the amount of people we had brought on, the computers that we were looking to set up because we weren't sure what type of computer we needed, the anxiousness that I got at this stage was off the chart because this was underwhelming. It was boring. I was already over it. I'd been in it under 2 minutes. And this was meant to be one of the big game changers of what Meta can be and where it goes. And at this stage, I pick up my phone and I phone the team and I'm like, emergency meeting time. A reality check of note had just arrived. And I called Alex in, Shweta, Tom, the entire team came in. We had 8 of us sitting around the table, which was at the time our Meta team. 18 months ago, we've just done this investment. We're learning, we're sending people to learn in Amsterdam. I'm sending people to go learn in New York. All the stuff we're going to show you over this weekend, we were sending team members all around the globe to start understanding. And yet in it, the first experience was scary, underwhelming, boring as hell, and reality check-in that real life is boring. They had created a perfect digital twin of the museum, of those artworks. And yet in it, it was underwhelming. I didn't know what I wanted it to be, but I knew that that was not a great experience. And this is where Alex sat up and his genius kicked in. For those of you going to get to work and meet and understand him. And this ex-sculptor said to me, you know, Mike, the problem is that real life is boring and you want things to be more. You want this to push the boundaries. You want it to not be what people expect. And you can pop on the slides there, if you don't mind, Prashani. So show you over here, we get to this part saying, what was wrong with it? Why did it not capture everything? And the whole part of this over here is that if you go back to their objective, yes, they showcased their museum. But if we go back to those first questions I said to you a moment ago, was the objective met? What is the frame of reference? And this is why frame of reference and the dilemma of frame of reference is so important. Number one, you guys saw it. We saw that immediately, and you knew it was an art museum. You didn't have anyone to explain that to you. You knew it was an art museum, and we knew it could run around art. So the frame of reference was there. And this is where the dilemma kicks in. Why? Because when I run up and I stare at something in the Meta place, it doesn't look that cool. We expect it to do more. Because they had taken a carbon copy, a digital twin of the museum, because this big buzzword was being thrown around, they were like, yes, tick, digital twin done. No, they failed on every single level because they didn't meet the objective. What is the objective of an art gallery? And I'd like this, actually, I'm putting this to the chat for you guys. I'm just seeing my things pumping up over there. Yes, someone's filled out the form. Yes, I'm going to cover all the things of insurance agent to you, but I just want to get back to this moment over here. I want to say to you, what is the objective of an art museum? And I want some answers coming through from you on this, because this is where they got it wrong. And I'm going to give you guys a moment or two to put in some answers. Let me see if anything telling and exciting pops up. That we had arrived, they had delivered it well, we knew the frame of reference, but did they meet the objective? And the first answers are bundling in over here to be able to view the work, the artwork. Absolutely, that would be one component of it. But I even go further than that. And that is not just, and I see, there we go, flying answers in, there we go. To make you feel something, far better, to make you feel something, to showcase a masterpiece, to create, to bond or create a relationship with the artist. And those are all way better answers, because all they did on that is that they showcased, you could see the art, but I couldn't interact with it. I couldn't bond with it. I couldn't emotionally connect with it. The objective is to create an emotional bond with the piece of art, to appreciate it, to want to understand the headspace of the artist at the time, to understand what he was going through or she was going through. What was the key drivers behind that? What is the name of the piece versus what am I looking at in that? I've spent some of the best times in my life. I spent 4 days on 3 different trips going to the Louvre over the last 10 years. And why? Because I go look at a piece and I want to hear the story. I want to look at that and understand why the artist was painting that way. I want to understand the story, the economics, what was happening that translated in that piece coming to that way. And yet when I say that now and we go back to what that museum was, it failed. Why? Because yes, the art was there, but I couldn't pull it up. I couldn't see the backstory. I couldn't hear the audio of what the artist was. I couldn't zoom in and maybe even see layers of how it was painted or where the thoughts of it went. What was his mood board beforehand? And where was he thinking? What was she thinking? And that suddenly brought these pieces together. Maybe some background images of how it played out. The point is, it wasn't enough. You lost my attention in 2 minutes. Why? The frame of reference was there, but the objective was failed and it didn't land, which leads me on to the next section over here, which is in life, what you see can't be what you get. And sometimes you can get the same result by doing it differently, as you can see on screen. So when building a good meta place, number one, real life, you've got constraints everywhere. You've got to play it safe. You can't run and do things. You've got gravity stopping certain things happening. You've got physics. You've got engineering, laws, money constraints. These are all things that get in the way of metaverses. And I love all these. I love all the questions and answers coming through here. These are the things that get in the way of what a good meta place can be. Instead, when you build things that are incredible, we need to color outside the lines. We got to defy logic at certain points. We got to make it interesting. We got to make the mind question, create curiosity, create wonder, and go, geez, that is cool. And how do we do this? With a simple statement, and this is a game changer for every one of you over here. You are literally saving 40 failed meetings and bad plays on it by simply not knowing the one statement of saying, imagine if I could. Imagine if I could. You're building any meta place. By applying this over here, you will start getting down to the most incredible solutions, incredible ideas start coming around. For those of you that feels a little out there, let me give you another one. Imagine if you were a superhero, what would you like to do? If there were no constraints to you, what would you like to do if you were a superhero? Now I'm going to apply it to something that everyone on the call will understand. Buying a property. You've bought a house, you've rented a house, you've looked at property. Imagine if I could, or if I had a superhero, what would I like to do? I'm going to let you guys put a couple of ideas down in the chat on this as well before I dive in. But think about it. When you go and you get a little swatch, and imagine if I could. When you look at architect's plans and you wonder what that view could look like, imagine if I could. When you see a wall that is in the way and go, I wonder how the room would look without that wall. If I was a superhero, imagine I could just remove that wall or see through that wall to see how that space would be. And I'm loving, there we go, lighting up on some of the comments coming through here. Reimagine this. Imagine if I could reimagine the space and rooms by using my imagination and creativity. Imagine being able to design in your imagination. Exactly. These are the type of things that set it out, that create a meta place that is different. I'm going to give you a few of them that we decided to get into property, and this will be one of the things that I'll be showing you a little later, about an hour from now. And we said, imagine if I could walk around a building that has not even been built. It is a dirt hole. And yet I can walk around ground floor, top floor. I can go and explore it, and I can explore and see every part of it. Imagine if I could see a view from a window that is yet to be built. I'm 20th floor, New York Towers, or 20th floor on Dubai, on a building that is only 1 story high. And imagine I could walk to my exact window of that exact point and see the perfect view that I would get from that window. I'm seeing ideas shoot over here. Show your ideas visually. Lovely idea. Imagine if I could show progressive disease in the body. That's tomorrow. The progressive disease, we're going to have a whole discussion on that in the medical side. Not quite on the property one just yet. But imagine if I could see a different granite, and if it takes too much light, see the grain of wood. Imagine I could clap my hands and instantly every drop of furniture in the house or in the property that I'm looking at is gone, so I can get use of the space. Or if I could change different layouts quickly. Imagine if I could remove the walls and see the property with all the non-weight bearing walls open, so I could see if I want to choose some renovations, reimagine the space, even down to the fact of being able to move the sun, so I could see how the sun will affect the 9 o'clock in the morning in February, July, or December. This December is my holiday time. I want to be watching some TV potentially, and I don't want there to be glare in it. I want to see how the sun will affect that specific room. That is the Imagine If I Could. That is the superhero play, and that is fundamental to every single build that we do when we do the metaverse. So again, what is the objective? 2, frame of reference, to be able to speed up people understanding it better. 3, do I want single or multi-user? 4, Imagine If I Could. And by applying Imagine If I Could, I can make it do more than people expect. I can give out other areas, and that is where meta places come to life. Because you can challenge things, you can spend as much money, you can rip a roof off a property and suddenly fly and see it from the sky, scan 20 kilometers around a building to get to know the neighborhood and where things are. That is the beauty and the first starting point of where we're going on this meta place. And again, I'm just seeing comments flying through over here. See the idea and dream and tweak it before it's even built. Couldn't agree more. I'm going to show you how many regrets can we avoid. You're going to see that from developers in about an hour from now, saying that exact point, Labanya, and couldn't agree more. And exactly, oh, Luke, you're worlds ahead on this. Imagine viewing your holiday destination before you arrive. Exactly, those dodgy Airbnbs we land up, or the game lodge, or the property that you overspent on because you didn't fully understand the area. You're starting to get it, guys and girls. You're starting to understand, and that's great to see. So, going a little further in that, we're going to challenge the art for the possible. I'm not going to play this video, but there's a video here that we can show you, how you can pull things, push things, move things. I'd rather get down to the more heavy hitting stuff. So I'm going to skip over this video and just go into the outputs of it. So you can pop that on screen, Prashani, thank you. So some of the things in a world, you could push things. You can apply physics or you can remove physics. So in some cases, seeing a 100-meter flood line is valuable, or seeing if you put a major rain shower over a property and seeing where the water gathers because you scan the topography of that land and see where the gathering points are. That would be amazing. Exactly the physics as well, knowing the swells of the tugboats. We can 1, challenge it, or 2, find out that there's better ways to react to it. Proximity triggers means that when a person in your meta place walks up to something can happen. Sort of think of it like a tripwire. So if I walk up to the TV switches on. If I walk into a room, the light switches on. If I interact with something else happens. You've got the ability to slow things down. You could literally walk past, let's say, a pigeon on the ground, and instead of that pigeon suddenly startling and flying away, which is a digital twin, it could suddenly take off, and in slow motion, National Geographic quality, this beautiful takeoff could take place. Why? Because it makes it interesting and unusual and brings people and go, wow, that is cool. You can speed things up. You can collect things that do things. You can have video appear. You can have live feeds from real life appearing in something. So like this event right now, when we normally host this, and I'm doing it face-to-face, I've done 2 of them before. This is the 3rd time. It's the first time we've only ever done it online before. And what is nice is if it was in the room, you guys could have a live camera feed. We could be in a meta place, could all be go around over here. You could see me chatting on a giant screen in front of you, and yet you could see the live feed of people inside the room. You can put in websites, you can drive things, you can fly, you can walk, you can put a feed into another feed. In other words, you can pull a Zoom meeting in and a YouTube in to do something else. You can shoot, pull, you name it. The point is there's a lot you can do. And in knowing this, because everything you can do in real life, you can do in a meta place, and yet you can be a superhero and challenge it and go further. So the idea really over here is that one of the big challenges people have when building a digital twin is they put too much reliance on frame of reference, like the museum did, and they don't create enough surprise and delight moments, which leads us to the last section over here before we dive into the big stuff, and that is the ability to add game theory. And really what game theory means is that someone can come into an environment, they can interact in that environment, and something unexpected happens that they weren't intending to happen. So that's a lot of words. What do you mean in that? I click on from a Facebook ad to look at a property. I click and I'm in that property. You're like, no ways, that's cool. I see that there is a time on the bottom, a slider saying 1 a.m. to 12 at night. And I know immediately that, yes, I can probably move the time because that is, again, I'm inside an environment and I am about to interact with something with I'm expecting to have a result. But when I move that slider, I suddenly see the real life sun moving outside that window and the light switching on and off in relation to that. That is an unintended consequence. If I click on the floor plan, instead of just an image popping up, suddenly you're shooting 2 stories into the sky and the roof rips off the building, and there you are seeing everything below you without the roof on. The perfect floor plan for something that actually makes sense because you can see the space better. That is what game theory does. And when you can create game theory inside a meta place, that is when it brings that X factor, that wow. And you're going to see so much of that in the examples I'm going to take you through this afternoon and tomorrow. When you get it right, you feel it because you're in it. It's exciting to look around. You're getting it. It's immersive. You're like, wow. And then you do something and it is just what happens is just so cool. It's that imagine if I could. It's that super, and you go, damn, that is clever. Damn, that is clever. And that is when you know that you've applied game theory and you've done it in a great way. So just recapping on those, we number 1, your objective, and you can see the importance of that objective now, because and we're gonna and yet you understand it now. When we do the breakout tomorrow afternoon, and I'll end up saying to you, break into groups and come up with your own idea on something, you're going to see how difficult that is. Number 1, the objective. Number 2, the frame of reference. How are you making sure that people understand what your thing is, get it, but not doing it so much that it's boring. Number 3, single or multi. And in all our world, I really just want to hear single. I'd be surprised if anyone comes up with anything that really, truly needs a multi-user experience. Number 4 is imagine if I could, and that's where the excitement comes out. But number 5, not only imagine if I could, but it has an unintended consequence of what I did there. And that creates that little X factor, that wow, and that closes off ticket 1. You now understand what is expected. And now for every one of you, because this is the most important time of where we are going to go. I see my slides are shooting ahead here. And that is that I'll stop on the previous one, otherwise it's going to shoot on and on and on. We are going to dive into a killer example of a property unpacking. Just going to over here. So you are going to have a 5-minute break, because just enough to get a quick cup of coffee, just enough to stretch your legs. Now the rubber hits the tarmac, the game changer stuff happens. If you guys are excited before this is one of the big gifts that we're giving you, because you've already got the property pack that is being sent to you at the end of this weekend. And I'm going to show you those 5 things applied to one industry. We're going to go through so many tomorrow, and I'm going to show you the impact this has as we apply to an industry. We apply all those 5 things and what it looks like. So a quick 5-minute gap. If you can put a 5-minute timer on for me, Prashani, just count it down for everyone. And make sure you are back, because this is the first major how to make money in the metaverse in 2025. Thank you. Okay, so before we dive into one of the most probably life-changing parts of metaverse and meta places and 3D spaces that I'm going to be talking you through, I was going to find some of the questions. A lovely question was asked saying, you know, can these things be made sensory? Can they be made touch, feel, etc.? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's far more on the more technological side of stuff, and probably 3-4 years away from being standard. But even today, you can get, when you put a headset on, you can get bangles that you put around that whatever you do with your hands, your fingers, it picks up what you're doing from your wrist and brings that in. You wear suits that if you get in a game, get shot, it'll make her feel where that suit is, or get hot or cold based on where or if you're running through a hot place or a cold place. So you're seeing it more and more now. Even little treadmills that you walk on, they are all searching massively on how to bring feel into it. But again, in our world, in the business world, yes, you'd have the odd places like some of you from Dubai, maybe one or two really cool things you could do in the mall there that would be epic. But for day-to-day business, for real heavy-hitting solutions that make money and put you guys in an incredibly empowered position, the answer is that although you can, it doesn't always mean you want to. And that is why all of these things can work on a headset. The problem is that the moment I make a headset, every one of you online right now, there might be, well, let's see, there's over 190 of you. Out of 190 of you, you guys, probably 10 of you will have a headset, but 190 of you will have a phone. And that's the difference. You only want to create heavy hitting solutions. You want them to be accessible by everyone, which again, I'll go back to the 5 things that really made me want to make a move in the space. Those are the ones that led up to it. And then I know there was a lot of other comments, and in general, just want to say thank you. The words of encouragement. I'm loving how energized you guys are and the feedback and how it's landing. So this is the part that you sit up. This is the part that you focus more than ever. There is probably nothing over the next 3 days that I'm going to do that is going to be as impactful as this particular part of the segment, because everything else we're going to show you takes a little bit longer to do and it makes good money, but it doesn't make life-changing money. What I'm going to show you in the property and what we're going to take you through now is life-changing money. I touch on it again tomorrow. Today, we just do the intro. And before I dive in, let me set the tone with you on it so you understand. We went out and we started building solutions for some of the biggest companies in the world. And you go through the same challenges. Number one, they have meetings for meetings, and everyone online understands that. Anyone who's been in any business, small or large, you know the painfulness of a meeting for a meeting. So it would not take us 20 to 30 meetings to get anything going. It would have ranges of iterations, and you'd have to jump through all type of questionnaires and IT rigmarole. Why? Because they insert, the IT guys want to make sure 50 things that the thing is fine, and it just made it complicated. Yet bringing this to property, number one, made it globally applicable. Anywhere in the world, the process of buying property is the same. Number two, it is an industry that is archaic. They haven't moved forward in years, in 10s and 20 of years, in terms of the process of buying property, how we view property. It is still mind-blowing to me that we get given a paint swatch this size, and you're meant to look at a wall next to you and imagine how this paint will look on that wall, and how the lighting, which even when you put it on that wall, yes, it's the same color, but the lighting changes how the paint looks. Mind-blowing to me that this was the way this industry. I'm going to jump to the second camera there, Prashani. Always interesting when you have a little technical glitch. I think we switched over to our camera. Just want to move back over there. Apologies, everyone. You know, can't have a tech experience without having a tech failure somewhere in all of this. So I'll use that moment to sip my coffee and dive right back in there. So tee it up again. It's an industry that hasn't changed or evolved in ages. You can sit down with a developer who has never heard of you on a Monday and have a deal signed by a Friday with figures that are life-changing. Why? Because what you're going to see now is 18 months of hard work, of different inputs, all the builds we did for Vodafone, Baxter, all the big guys. We brought those learnings back to a solution over here. And I want you to listen to the next 60 minutes. And this is a property pitch. And if you were a property developer, if you were selling property, if you were an architect, if you were an interior designer, if you were a civil engineer, anything to do with property, I don't want you guys to listen right now as people looking to build this. I'm wanting to look at this right now as you being on the receiving end of me pitching to you as if you were one of the big players in any form of property, even down to selling your own house, doing your own renovation. And I want to take you down a very quick explanation and let you see firsthand the benefits of applying Meta and the principles that I've taken you through into one solution, creating something hard-hitting and heavy-packed, and we'll build on it over the next day or two. So I'm going to dive in. Here are the, in theory, buyers. I'd love to see at the end, as I'm seeing everyone writing over here. Yeah, thanks for the heads up on the lost speed. I did see that, Simon. You are going to, I want to know at the end of this, one, if you're blown away. Two, if you would be a buyer on this, in the sense that if you were a developer, if you were a property owner, if you were going through these, if this resonates, because I know the answer is going to be yes. And outside of all of that, I think you will see very quickly the type of, when we talk about quick money capabilities, how this plays out. So with no further ado, I'm going to formally welcome you, go into my sales role and give you a crash course and bring all of those principles together, which we'll discuss at the end of the presentation when we tie it up. We'll look at it and say, do you see how that all played out? So thank you for joining everyone today. I'm from a company called Methodology, and we really wanted to get involved in property and to do so in a way that's innovative, that's different, that shakes things up a little bit, and really set out to deal with the challenges that you as property developers, as property owners, as rental agents are dealing with. And we wanted to do it in a way that really not only emphasized the ability for you to sell faster, but allowed not just your buyers to make faster decisions, but more importantly, deal with a lot of the challenges you have, the challenges with banking and financing, the challenges in when you build, the challenges in deciding which property to build. And yet this will all become clear as I take you through that. So no further ado, I'll dive in. And we set out to become the global leaders in selling property utilizing 3D experiences. And what we mean by that is that the world of property hasn't changed. And we find it mind-blowing that someone, like a buyer, can be expected to make the biggest financial decision of their lives with a brochure, a site map, an architect's plan, and a mood board. And yet they're expected to apply those 4 pieces of technology and look at a dirt hole or look at a house that is a completely derelict and needs to be reworked. And yet they have to take those 4 pieces of paper and imagine what the potential of that property could be. And we set out to say, no ways, we want someone to be able to pull out their laptop, their mobile phone, their tablet from wherever they are in the world. And we want to give them not only the ability to view that property, but we want to get them the ability to fully experience everything about it. And one of the most exciting parts about this is that they don't actually have to physically be there. They are on any form of social media. You're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, you name it. You're on an email that's just been opened up. And instead of you just arriving and getting a standard viewing experience, imagine if from anywhere in the world on your mobile device, on your laptop, you click and jump into the property in question. So let me show you what that looks like. You're on social media, you see this ad for a property in your area or a property in another area that you're like, oh, that looks interesting. I'd like to be able to have a look at that. And imagine as simple as clicking on it if this was the outcome, and I could click onto a mobile phone and kick this off. There we go. I click on the social media, and this is a house. This is the first development we ever did. And you can immediately see the realism, even down to the aluminium frame and the 3 tracks that it works with. Now we talk about the fact of realism and how it can be achieved. Look at the quality of that leather. Look at the grain of that wood in that chair. But more importantly, because I want to get to understand the property better, imagine if I could literally change the floor to experience the 3 different finishes that you're offering. Imagine when I switched the light on and off, the environment reacted accordingly. So if I put a dark black granite on the kitchen counter, I can see if it takes too much light or if I need to rather do something that's lighter to refract the light to make the place feel easier and more approachable. Imagine being able to switch and change the colors of your kitchen and even down to see the view. That is the exact tree line right now, scanned from Google satellites, brought in onto a property that is yet to be built. But instead of only getting 24 images and not understanding how the space fits together, I can see and walk and experience the property literally from my mobile phone. I can see the slightly unmade bed, but I'm not certain if I want the extra of the shutter blinds. And yet I can experience them. I can see how much light comes through. I can see the different paint options and how they resonate with the size of the light. And that is the type of output that is achieved when you end up bringing in a solution like this. Now, the big thing of what just happened, we accelerated the buying decision. Why? Because the buyer knew everything that they were getting. They could make a decision. They could see if they resonated with the home. They could see it with the perfect furniture. They could see it with the finishes, if they like oak floors or tiles, if they like dark granite or a light granite. You could see the type of view and not have any questions on what you were going to be buying and what the view one day could be. And you get a sense of that. And then more importantly, they can walk and understand the space in total detail, and yet they're doing that from the comfort of their laptop or their mobile phone, being able to explore and go through the area, being able to explore the development in totality, and yet they're doing that from the convenience of their own device. This is more than just a flat render. In property, we know you get a lot of renders. We know you get a lot of images. The problem is they don't tell the story. You can't explore it. You can't go through it. You can't understand the space in totality. And that is what we went out to do, to go beyond a flat render, but to create something that is indistinguishable from real life, and yet take you through and experience the property in what its ultimate space and ultimate place would be. This is a property in Dubai that is yet to be built. That is the view from a penthouse 20 stories up of a property that currently is only 1 story high. And that is the type of wins that you can achieve when utilizing these type of outputs. So the first thing we wanted to do is that the buyers could go around and be able to explore your property or your development or your commercial rental online. The second thing, though, is we wanted them to be able to interact with it and see the different finishes that were available to them in a way that allowed them to see what they liked or didn't like. But then we wanted to go further, and we wanted them to be able to explore the amenities. Maybe there's got a restaurant on the property. Maybe there's a really cool gym, a pool that you want to see, a park that is included, and to allow them to understand and fully explore that space, and then to take it further than that, to familiarize themselves with the area, to be able to fly around and see the restaurants, understand the traffic patterns, where the schools are, the points of interest, the malls. So even if they are nowhere near the area, they could get totally comfortable, and you can do all of this from the comfort of their own mobile phone. We understand in property, you guys have some serious challenges. Number one, how to get more foot traffic. And that is if you have a venue, maybe you've got a showroom, or maybe you've got a ready built space. But the difficulty, even then, of getting people to a live viewing is very difficult. You know, you have time changes, both you having the agent having to meet there. If you like the place and you want your partner to see it, you've got to set up another viewing. So you have all these areas that get in the way of making that difficult. Buyers have difficulty in visualizing what the space could look like, particularly if it's a fix-me-up or a renovation or has dodgy furniture that is all around. It is very difficult as well to get them to get a deposit in and to be able to effortlessly see if they're interested in making the purchase. It is very difficult if there are existing tenants or layouts that aren't conducive to showcasing, or furniture that isn't conducive to showcasing. And the last bit, with buyers being unfamiliar with the area, for them to understand the space. Yes, you can drive around the neighborhood, but you can't really get a sense of the overall space and how it could work out. And we set out a methodology to change all of those areas. And let me show you how. We created 6 aspects to our solution that really tackled the challenges that every property person has. The first is the fact that turning social media clicks into a live viewing. Traditionally, what happens is that you are on social media, you see a property that you like, you click on it, and you land up on a website. And you have to look around the website. It doesn't really have that much info. You're trying to download the PDF. You're seeing a couple of renders, maybe a couple of photos. But from there, the buyer has to email the agent. And that could be now, and the buyer's in the space and they're in property headspace now. But the agent might only reply tomorrow morning and send information or try set up something. And by the time that a live viewing has happened, out of the 1,000 clicks that landed up on the website, they are lucky if they have had 30 people look through the property. 30 people go into more detail, and lucky if they've had even 5 viewings of a property out of an initial 1,000 people who came through. Instead, we'll end up saying that every one of those 1,000 clicks arrive in the property a couple of seconds later. And as a result, you have 200 or 300 people who go, wow, this is really awesome, and reach out. And most importantly, they are qualified because they understand it. They've looked, they've seen the finishes, they've seen the opportunity. So the quality of the lead is in obviously a lot more. The second thing that we do is we know that developers struggle with dealing with technology. So what we end up doing is we build the entire portal for them. And not just the portal, we realize that people don't like dealing with people. You don't want the pressure of dealing with someone too early on in the journey. So the first thing we'll end up doing is we create an entire video tour that they arrive on, they can click, and it flies them through the development. It gives them the perfect explanation, the perfect a sales pitch on what makes this property so awesome. But when they are ready and they want to take it further, they can literally do an individual viewing. They can click and walk around the model on their own. They can explore it. They can play with the finishes. They can get acquainted with it. And the moment they're excited and they go, geez, this is awesome, I'd love to be able to talk with an agent, a simple click of the button connects them via whatever way you as a developer wants to work. If you want to use MS Teams, Zoom, WhatsApp calls, video call, whatever it may be. But what makes this so exciting is that the agents can literally do a viewing from their phone, utilizing their thumbs. So let me use one of you just popped up here. Dimitri, you've come in, you're the buyer, I'm the agent, I've answered the call. We've set up, we either have a little calendar, which literally links them 10 minutes or 15 minutes down the line, or literally can do a live call. I pull out my phone, I'm like, Dimitri, lovely to meet you. I immediately get all the information on you, Dimitri. I get to see that you've viewed the house 5 times already. You've shared it to 3 family members and your aunt. I can see that you love the kitchen because you love cooking clearly, and that the black granite is a big part of what you like. And yet in that though, I can take my phone and I can move my thumbs around and I can explore and take you through that, allowing you to customize the space, go through it, doing that viewing, and yet the buyer hasn't left their couch and you haven't left wherever you were. You've got the ability to jump on that and deal with it in the now. The next thing that we do is that we bring out features of that property, and I'm going to play this video via Zoom, so I hope it carries through nicely because I've embedded it into this PowerPoint. But we allow them to explore the development in totality. So this is one of the towers we did in Midrand. not only, as you heard me say before, we link the sun to that exact building. So every drop of light that you see through any window is exactly where the sun will be at that time of year, in that season, at that time of day. Second thing we do is we allow you to be able to click on the gym or the restaurants and explore the amenities. But when I talk about exploring the area, we utilize Google satellites to scan 50 kilometers, for those of you in the US, about 30 miles around the area, so you can explore, go through it. If you want to look at the units, why not? If you can filter by how many bedrooms, your price, you can rip the roof off an entire floor and see the perfect floor plans and how it looks. But if you actually want to see what does unit 167 look like, all you got to do is double click on it. And there you are in the unit, being able to explore. Let's go imagine if I could remove all the walls. There is the entire open space of the unit you want to buy without walls, so you can understand the space. Let's now try different finishes. Let's put the tiles versus the wood. There is a view right now, not from 6 months ago, a year ago. That is the view 30 days ago of a building that is yet to be built. And there I can see the exact view out of that window that I'm going to be able to see. I can see the furniture, or I can remove all the furniture. I can add measurements to every single wall and door frame, so I can see if my existing furniture can fit in the space. I can explore the property. And then outside of all of that, we use developers normally spend $1,000 to $5,000 on renders. At any point, we can turn any scene into a render there and then, saved you $2,000 to $5,000 in rendering fees, and yet you immediately get this incredibly high quality output that you are experiencing. So just some of the features that we have: time of day, changes, change the finishes, furnished, unfurnished, or changing furniture to see, maybe I don't want a lounge here, maybe I want a dining room there. The measurements on every single wall, door frame, side wall, so you can see what could fit or not fit. The ability to see where every water pipe is and electrical pipe is in the wall. Imagine if we could, every one of us who've ever drilled and hit an electrical pipe or water pipe are laughing with me right now. Those utilities, being able to see them is a win. And the fact of being able to drop a wall to see what the space could look like, open space, maybe I want to knock through, maybe I want to play around with some ideas, and I can see how the space could look. All of that is just some of the information that we get, and everything that your buyer is potentially doing on the site with us, we are measuring, seeing, and how this plays out. And I'm just seeing over here, Rashida is going, wow, I can't wait to see this. This is looking great. Just wait, Rashida, we're just getting started. Then we go a step further, and we'll end up saying, well, let's go further than that. And actually, hold on, that's actually your video we're going to play. I'm going to show you how this all comes together. And I want to show you on a property we've just done in the Caribbean, how this viewing experience changes. It's a little video we've just done for the actual developer, but I want to show you how the entire solution comes together, the portal we build, how you can explore the unit, how you can rip the roof off. And Prashani, I want you to pause it at some point. I just want to point something out. So yeah, if you could jump in and let's get going there.
Welcome to Methodology, where the future of property viewing is just a click away. We're redefining the way you explore, discover, and fall in love with your dream property. Our platform is your fully customizable hub for all your property's information, designed to make property viewing seamless, straightforward, and stress-free. Step inside with just one click. Our cutting-edge 3D platform gives you a holistic view of the building from every angle. Explore breathtaking amenities in stunning detail. From poolside tranquility to fine dining spaces, immerse yourself in a lifelike 360-degree experience of every feature this property has to offer. Find your perfect unit effortlessly. Filter by square meterage, price, floor level, or number of rooms. Quickly check the availability or reserved status so you know exactly what's ready for you. Click on any unit to access detailed floor plans, including cross-sectional views and a breakdown of your chosen space. Download vital information, share the unit link with friends, save it for future reference, or hit reserve to connect with an agent and take the next step toward ownership. Visualize your future with stunning 360-degree room renders. Explore each space up close, even before construction begins.
Thanks, Prashani. So, let me quickly just slow it down there for a second. Live inventory management. So you can see in real time what is available, what isn't. No having to wait for the office to get back to you. They get to see real time. Outside of that, the section that I quickly paused on over here, this gives you a live PDF. So any change that you are making to the unit for you looking at unit 169, Dimitri is just saying, so impressive. Dimitri is looking at the unit right now. He's gone, he's made a couple of changes to this, and yet in it, the PDF for him, because that's what the metaverse can do. We save all that information against the user, and we can literally there and then save it and take them through it. They can like their favorite units and compare them. They can, once they get in, see the exact cross-sectional overview, the architect's plan in the side. They can see where they're viewing out. They can see the exact view that this unit will have, and yet they could jump to other units from here. So while I'm exploring, I can even go further and explore other areas. It's going to fast forward here. I can see the view of a spot. Again, this is in the Caribbean, aimed at Americans. And so all our American counterparts, you can note, you don't just want to jump on a plane to go look at a spot. Imagine how easy this would be comparatively to view. And then just taking a little bit further here, hold the mouse and move. We build the entire portal as part of that, even allowing them to explore down here, all the amenities, walk down to the ocean, see how far they are, see the killer restaurants that are in and around there. You get the idea. That is what we bring together. But we take it further than that. And that is that we equally bring on the fact that we move my mouse here. We equally run live events for them every 2 weeks. So like you did today, you guys arrived at this immersive experience. You got to see branding, who the speakers were, live videos playing in there, and then have a quality experience like we've had over here. Teasers, tickers that go through. We do all of that. We do a recording of the architect. We do a recording of the interior designers, the developer, all the little finishes that tell the story. And every 2 weeks, this allows the agents to create urgency. But I'll use Dimitri again. You know, Dimitri's looked at the property today. I don't know if I can get him over the line. And yet I'm like, Dimitri, we got a viewing this Thursday. Jump on it with us. You know, there's going to be a couple of 100 people on. Get a sense, meet the developer, meet the architect, see what it's all about. And yet what does that do? It creates urgency because it's going to be there. It's going to get more excited. It's going to get more amped about it. And yet the agent at any point online, like I can with you, can pull him into a back room, say, listen, you've seen it now. There's a couple of other people wanting to make a move. So those online events create urgency. I'm not going to play that video, but it plays a whole teaser video of how we showcase it. And then the last thing, like we can do with you right now, we can make things pop up on screen, payment portals, forms. So we allow them to literally buy and pay a deposit there and then live in order to secure their spot. So how does this come together? How does this play out? And that is that there are now multiple benefits for all involved. And I'll show you what that looks like. Number one, for a property developer, you can start selling from ideation. You've got an idea on a property. You want to see what it could be. You can literally contact and work with us to be able to see how that plays out. Number two, you can start forecasting and planning because you can immediately see that the 2-bedroom is outselling the 3-bedroom, that granite is far more popular than oak finishes. So you can bulk buy and start planning. And then because you see that there's so much more popularity on the 2-bedroom, you can convert those last 200 3-bedrooms rather than 2-bedrooms so that you can get better use out of your space. Outside of that, the upsells. Every one of us, I was a master of my own demise. I've just finished building a property. And the fact that Candace, my wife, could go through the granite and see the different finishes, she chose one that was exponentially more expensive than the one I wanted to choose, but she saw it in the kitchen. She saw how the light could look. She saw I could interact. So your upsells and finishes, seeing the fireplace, seeing how it could look, seeing the finishes really translate well. And what really brings us together for as a developer or someone looking to buy properties, they can even contact and work with us from early stages before they've bought land. So what I'm about to play you here, this is a property, a developer who was looking to buy a little plot of land. It was on an island. He in a well-known tourist destination. He wanted to know, he had to get it through government feasibility and the environmentalists, because they've got a very rare mangrove tree and they can't cut down too many mangrove trees. And he wanted to know, before he'd even seen an architect, what the property could look like, how it could be. And he literally phoned us on the Monday, and we had to, by Friday, have something together. And this talks again to the speed at which things can be built. And I'll talk you through what you're about to see over here. So we scanned this. This was in an island called Mauritius. We quickly used the Google satellites. In 3 hours, we scanned where he wanted the marina to be built. We then added the 100-year flood line on so we could understand the water movements and how the water moves in that space. The next thing is that we took sketches that he literally drew on a piece of paper, and we brought those sketches in and modeled how the development could look utilizing the space. We then brought in the marina that he was envisioning and created a little path for the local community to be able to walk around. But we scanned every tree to see that we'd only have to cut down 187 mangrove trees in order to be able to build the space, and yet to do so in a way that didn't get in the way of what the property could look like. We then worked out how the feasibility around the boats and marina to see how many boats could move in and out of the space and how many people could be staying within the actual marina itself. But more importantly, we showed him for the top floor if it could be retail or restaurant or penthouse. So we showed him the view as a restaurant at the top, if that became part of the amenities. But then we said he goes, well, then how would the ground units look? How would the floors on the second floor look? And yet now we literally on day 5, he's experiencing the view, seeing how we fit on the topography, because we use Google satellites also to scan the topography to get the exact layout of the space. We can fly down to a given floor at any point to answer any questions he has on that space. And you can see in a moment, those are actually the trees that exist in this environment. And I can see now that this particular patio doesn't have a view. But if I go into the main bedroom, I can see that the main bedroom has a lovely view of the marina. Imagine being able to solve every one of those outputs for a developer pre them even purchasing that land, and the benefits are colossal, because we can evolve from ideation, help them forecast, and bring those other elements to life. The other part is that they get better support from the banks. Why? Because the finance houses now understand what they want to do. So when they're arriving there and they're talking about their big ideas and grand plans, the finance house has a full understanding of that. And I'm going to unpack that in a moment. Even the builders on the property have the ability, let's play about this in here, give me a moment. And even the builders who are walking around the property can see exactly what the unit will look like when it's done, can see the fact that they're going to have to put wires in that part of the wall before they lay the bricks. So even the building and the contractors get to understand it a lot more, because they can see the end result. The saving for every property developer or property seller on renders, professional photography, renders alone cost between $1,000 and $5,000, give or take, depending on how good you want the render to be. And so certain developments can drop $100,000, $200,000 in renders. Smaller developers can drop $20,000, $30,000 in renders before they've even gone too deep into the project. Huge costs on interior design. Difficulty in being able to create partnerships. Like on the Caribbean thing now, imagine you could see a Smeg kettle or a Samsung TV screen or a certain brand of furniture that you could partner and get some type of marketing ROI. The fact that you can sell that to any person anywhere in the world, any geographical location, is a game changer. And yet anyone can experience the lights, the topography, the views, so better decisions can be made without you having to backtrack. And yet all of this is being underpinned by massive amounts of data that the MetaPlace brings in. From a bank's perspective, one of our clients, we've just been given 4 projects from a US bank. So for the Americans there, you'll understand what a big thing that is. Why? Because it allowed them to de-risk certain unknowns in a development. They don't know what the feasibility could be or what the return could be on it. So instead, what the bankers said is that they will pay us, they will pay our fees to build the development. The developer goes to market for 3 months, and then the bank allows them, can see how successful it was and creates a package and financing based on the results. They get obviously better understanding because they can walk the space, they can understand the space a lot better. They can pick up any early detection or oversights that has particularly happened. They can validate all the decisions that they're making with data. Obviously, they get way more improved forecasting, the ability to reduce physical site visits, because very often you may get financing from a bank that is, hours or a couple of hours flight away, and because they don't necessarily have a branch in that area. And the benefit for the buyers, as you would have seen all day today, are tremendous. I'm not going to spend too much time here. You can view the property, you can go through it, you can change the floors, all the things that you can see, but you get the visual decision to be able to make a better buying decision. And the one that I found most fascinating, particularly when you get to the money side in a moment, and you can see how this plays out, the agents, the real estate agents anywhere in the world earn between 2% and 7% based on the country that they sell. I just want to talk through some of the benefits here. The agent can start selling from day one. They don't have to wait for a show unit. They don't have to be under pressure. Number two, they can get every social media click resulting in a viewing and getting a higher quality of the viewing. They get increased reach because they can now sell to people anywhere at any place because they've got a further geographical reach, because they aren't limited to someone coming to do a physical site visit. Your ability to attract a global client base to buy properties in like the Caribbean development can be sold to anyone in the world. The fact that you can highlight the amenities, explore the area, reduce the uncertainty so faster decisions can be made. So often because of this, the agents offer to pay our fees out of their fee because of the fact that we do their job so much easier. And I'll cover that in a moment when I get back there. The last thing I want to cover before I move on to the next step is that you've got to understand developers. When someone needs to develop a property, it's a race against time because they get given the finance at different points. So if a bank might say, we're going to give you $100 million of finance, they've got to sell out 25% of the property to get their first drawdown of 25%. They've got to sell out 50% of the property to get their second drawdown. But the big challenge is that when they get down to that last 20%, so the development is 80% sold out. If they don't sell that last 20% quickly, let's say the development's almost done, people are taking occupancy, their interest on that loan is so staggering that in 6 months of not selling out, they can go from being a profitable development to bankrupt because they didn't sell that last bit, and the interest lands up tripping them because they can't do the final handover, they can't get the final deeds across the line. So the fact that we can help them get there weeks, months in advance is a game changer for developers and helps mitigate the risk massively. In essence, by bringing Meta and 3D Spaces to this industry, and this one is this one I'm explaining today, everybody lands up winning and it lands up being a game changer. What's also great, as we discussed today, is that other programs can plug into a MetaPlace. So all the architectural renders, we can actually grab them and drop them into our site. The architect's plans, the renders, they work on something called Revit. We literally copy and paste the Revit file into our MetaPlace and the exact building appears. So we don't have to model it from scratch. We get to build this very, very quickly. So you guys should all be salivating by the quality of the demo here. No, there won't be recordings. Unfortunately, Rashada, this is all you in person, you're experiencing it with us or you're not. We're very close about this IP and who we bringing this to, because we want to partner with the right type of people and do great things. But I'll come back to that in a moment. So let's talk about numbers. We charge the developers or the property owners, and I'll talk at different examples in a moment. We charge them, give or take, for a medium-sized development, $10,000 kickoff fee, about $500 to $1,000 per month for the server, and we charge 0.5% to 1% of the development. and this is game changer. This is us as methodologies. We literally pop on, we put this together. We can build any property between 3 and 6 weeks, anywhere in the world. The developers are saving bundles. The $10,000 kickoff fee is not even in their world because of the fact that they know that they're going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in renders, interior designs, a lot more than that if they make a mistake, a lot more than that if they don't know which property to go for or how to get the best out of their output. And outside from, and we, that's not our money. Yes, that's great. $10,000 is not bad. We all, that's great. Again, it takes 1, maybe 2 team members, you know, not even the full time to put that together because everything's AI and we scan it and we do it quite quickly. The win on this is the fact that we get 0.5% of the entire development. Some cases 1%, some cases even more. But that's just the range we work in when I do this pitch. We get 0.5%, so bare minimum of the property. Now you think of $100 million property, we're getting 0.5% of that. That is $500,000. Yes, it might be paid over a year or two because when they get drawdowns, we get paid. So they're 25%, 50%, that's when we earn. But $500,000 for putting this together with only a couple of days or weeks work. I'll read that question in a moment. I see a couple of questions popping through. The win of this, you can see any developer we can arrive at, we solve so many problems for them, property rentals, commercial rentals, industrial parks, you name it, renovations. We don't only get the upfront fee, but we get the output of that. And that is the first big step for you. Every one of you watching right now should literally be thinking, holy moly, I wonder how many developments are down the road from me. I wonder how many developments are, and not even down the road from me. Why? Because we don't have to sell with geographical location. We don't have to worry about that. So those of you who are quite excited to learn about building, great, we're going to cover that tomorrow. But you can still imagine walking up to a development down the road and the unbelievable impact you can have with them on that. And a story, and you'll hear some of the videos tomorrow. I think it was the 10th or 11th of January. One of our agents in Miami went to a developer. It was the Monday. She met with the head of sales. Tuesday, they got a meeting with the developer because the sales guy said, this is a game changer. We need this. By Friday, they had signed this exact deal on screen, $10,000, $750 in server fees per month, and 0.5% of that development in 5 days, done, dusted, and she is cleaning up in the space. And this is where it starts getting exciting for you guys. I'm going to play you a video. Again, we talk about the reactions the metaverse can have for industries. We've only discussed one industry so far. I want to show you a video now. It's about 6-7 minutes long, but you're going to see developers from all over the world. Developers, town planners, civil engineers. These are the meetings from 15th November to about a week ago, because I wanted to put it together for today's chat. And I want you to see firsthand the reactions that people have, having never met us before. As I finish this 30-minute presentation I've just done to you, I land up getting the recording, and this is their reaction 30 minutes after having met us for the first time. Anyway, that's me done. I know it was a 30-minute crash course, but you can see a little bit why it's quite exciting and why it's got the impact that it's having in the space.
It's very exciting. Personally, I will say if I had access to this, I probably would have not bought this house that I'm living in now. Just throwing that out there as well, because so far it looks like a great product with so many areas of interest, and not just the residential that you've shown, but I could see this even on an economic development level. Another example, and Jorge knows as well, is a campus that we have called Port San Antonio. They have a lot of renderings of what their campus is going to look like in 20 years, but you can't really immerse yourself into what that's going to be. And so when they sell real estate on Port SA campus and they show pictures of the rendering, it's not really translating that vision or translating that idea. So I see a lot of opportunity from a city standpoint, from commercial development, site selectors. God, there's a load of people I would love to introduce this to, and honestly, where my mind is going in terms of the biggest opportunity right now is going to be mega sites. So for economic development, and this is all across the United States and not just Texas, but having mega sites. This is sites that's over 1,000 acres, but also contiguous sites. And so what problems we land in is we never know civil engineering wise, where the layout of the land is. A lot of the times, 1,200 acres is not contiguous. It's in different parcels with different owners. And so the hunt for mega sites is one of the biggest problems right now in the United States. Because one, land is gold. Two, very rarely do you see it contiguous. Three, you don't have it shovel ready with everything all set up. And then there's also some requirements in terms of railroad, having railway access, things of that nature in Spur. So that's where I kind of see the biggest opportunity for this on a commercial level is to help really sell mega sites, especially non-contiguous mega sites. But that's just one big opportunity amongst 10 that I see. And so Jorge, after hearing this, where do you see kind of next steps for this?
I'm speechless. No, I think it's pretty remarkable. And I think with the immediate ecosystem, and I think the importance of what San Antonio's been trying to do now for years and the heart that we have for this. But the problem of that's been happening over the last 5 years coming out of COVID is people's ability to visualize. You got all these pockets, they're so close to each other, but then they're like, how does this all come together? And I think that the decision cycle, for one, is slower than it needs to be. And the sales cycle and commitment cycle is slower than it needs to be because the visualization is not there. So how do we become kind of the glue that glues us together, right? And provides that visionary development from 5 out to 20 years, as Mike said we could do, and let even foreign direct investment, when you go to, for example, Paris, say we've got this thing called methodology.
Super impressed by your offering. Thank you for your time, man. Blown away. Obviously, the live renders are amazing, and as you say, you can zoom in and you can't tell the difference between the what's real and what's not real. That's incredible.
And I just really wanted to just intro myself and also just to say thank you for very exciting presentation. Super cool. Loved the real time and the real life of what it looks like. I think I've worked on developments for many years myself, and often quite challenging for customers to absolutely picture and visualize every dynamic. Render's beautiful. I was going to ask all the questions that Jeff asked, so I think you may have answered all of those things for me. But because I was going to ask around the commercials and the lead generation and the CRM, but yeah, it's super great to have been included in this, so thank you. And I could also see a lot of our developer clients would be very interested to see this, so we can perhaps take a chat offline on this. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, it sounds great. I think everything that you are showing integrates everything that we are doing apart. Like we pay for renders, we pay for videos or 3D, I don't know how to say it, recorridos, how do you say that in English?
3D multimedia videos, teasers.
Yeah.
Fingers.
So this, I think this thing with you, but we have other projects that are going on, and I like this. I like what I saw.
I'm blown away. I can't believe this is a local product. I mean, I've had meetings with guys overseas and stuff showing me similar stuff, and it's not near this sort of level. I've got my mind's already going like this. I've got so many applications for this. It's very customizable to like. You know, like you said, you could change the rate and this and that, and change the finishes. So it's like it's quite a unique offering. Now I've been involved with guys that used to have the VR goggles and architects that that it just was weird because you'd be walking around like looking at the space like this and you find really it didn't make sense. Where this makes a lot more sense. It's like that realism is insane. I mean, I can't believe you get into topography and like you say, the views and the trees and the landscapes and that's what sells the product. That's what actually makes it feel like, like you just mentioned, developments now. Like we did a Midrand Business Park now. We did 20,000 square meters there now. And I mean, it's this, sitting with the team and like pulling up these old school plans and like, where is that? And trying to figure out this and that, where I'm thinking something like this, you put on the screen and you just, have a chat on that and figure out problems and, this sounds amazing. It sounds amazing.
I've seen a few of the things on the market, but not as comprehensive as this. So yeah, for sure we'll find a way to work. And like I said, it'd be good if we just kick off with something small, and then we can test each other, not test each other, but just get to know each other. And then we've got a lot more coming through, so then we can roll out some more.
No, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it and your time as well. Like I said, a great product. Yeah. No, we've got one specific one that we are definitely. We actually discussed something similar to this, but we'd have worked in tandem with the renders and our own sort of model, and we would have created a sales map and all of that. But this sort of ticks all those boxes. I'm saying we like it's an understatement. We definitely like it. Ticks all the boxes clearly.
That's what it's like. You know, the excitement. These are people who've never seen it. They've seen pieces of software that can do things, but not the fact that this is accessible, video streamed, not the fact how this meets the objective, not the fact how people understand this as quickly. So it's all good and well you can install a piece of software or take someone to a TV that you've got something on and show them. But the fact that people can access this anywhere in the world on their mobile phone is an absolute game changer, and really helps move the needle in the space. To answer the questions, I love Jess saying, I want to work at Meta. Yes, I'm in. And to Nabiba, your question, yes, it can work with many forms of software, like you've seen actually throughout the day. Things can literally be dragged and dropped in from websites to YouTube to training systems to learning management systems. So yes, imports from, you were asking things like Civils 3D, drainage, yes, all of those, you export it in an open file, and we just put it into the Meta and utilize that model in relation to the space. So I'm getting slightly techie for everyone else over there. But what I really wanted to highlight today is for those of you who just here to learn and be interested in what the art of the possible is, this alone should be making you sit up. You're getting sent this pack already. You're going to be sent not one, multiple case study videos and success stories from around the globe, the intro email, and yet in that, being able to get a percentage of those type of numbers is staggering. It's life-changing. 1% is 2% of those numbers is great. 10% is life-changing. And to be able to get involved in a product that just introducing us to a developer, a property rental agent, all those types of individuals in your area is massive. The question that someone said, electricians. Yes, electricians could use it, but they wouldn't have access to the biggest amount of money, which is generally the developer, because that's when the most upsell or opportunity happens for a property. Yes, there are electricians that benefit, interior designers and all the others, but I'm talking about quick, easy access to lots of money in a short period of time. The property owners, the rental agents would be huge on that. And what's fascinating about this is not how often we don't even go for the developer. We even target real estate agents. Why? Because the real estate agent goes, geez, I'll take the 0.5% out of my 3% I'm earning. I'll go to the developer with all this killer product and ask for a sole mandate for an extra 6 months before anyone else gets near it. And I'll be able to clean up the space. So we don't even, between the bank paying us to de-risk it, the developer wanting to pay us to make it easier for their behalf, or the agent saying, geez, this is a no-brainer, I'll cover it on my side. There's so many ways, and that's only for 0.5% that people can make this work. And it's quick, it's easy, and this is the type of impact Meta can have. So I'm going to see that one or two other questions that came through. I covered that. I just covered those ones. So in closing and bringing it together specifically on this one, I wanted to give you something today that kept you up. I wanted to showcase something that really excited you in terms of the earning potentials. I've just done 2 quick examples over here on screen for you. A medium development, this is the one that lady closed. Anna, you'll hear from tomorrow. She closed that development. It was 50 units, give or take. Miami's prices are quite high. The small apartments are $2 million there. It's a $100 million development. Never heard of us on the Monday. The Friday they were signed. The kickoff fee is $10,000. The monthly fee, give or take, was $13,500, and the sales commission is give or take $500,000. And what's interesting, even the way we structure that, because we'll talk about ways to structure things on Sunday. But in this case, we could even drop the kickoff fee and the monthly fees make it look like the developer is trying to get some type of a benefit. And yet in that though, they feel, oh, at the time that they cash strapped, they're saving $10,000. Great. But are we on the tail end? They're getting $500,000. And you look at that one on the side, a slightly larger development. That's something based out the UK, give or take $500,000 sales price, 220 units, give or take $110 million. And you can see the output at the end there, the slightly high commission. We closed that at 0.75. So you're looking at about 825,000 US on that. And this is why I've said to you, there's no industry right now that is this exciting. There's no fees that we could be discussing. And although tomorrow you're going to see phenomenal examples of medical, phenomenal examples of events, all things that you can make a very, very good living off. The difference is that the numbers in property and the speed at which it can be built, because it's almost templatized, as we'll discuss a little bit tomorrow. Every time I arrive and I have to do a campaign or a museum or a retail store, in many ways you're starting again. What's nice about property is it's the same. People want to see features, they want to see the amenities, they want to explore the area. So you can build a template and just get AI to put most of it together and speed it up from that side. So bringing down over here, a recap. The developer saves decisions around bad land planning. They get way easier rezoning and environmental delays circumvented. They avoid the cost of many iterations from the architects, because the costs from the architects are through the roof, where they could draw little pictures on a property pre-architect before they decided they want to buy the land and get a sense of it. Obviously, avoid incorrect grouping 2 units versus how many 3-bedroom units and how best to play that out. Save a bundle in renders, bundle in interior design. They de-risk that last 20% of sales, and obviously the fees can be passed on to the real estate agent. For those of you in America, all you New Yorkers, you guys have that little development fee. That's a unit price can be $1 million, and then the developer can add a development fee on top of that. This is a no-brainer at that level. And if nothing else, I hope this lands the output of why this is going to be one of the 3rd biggest industries in the world. We've only touched on one today. We've only seen the impact and the number earning potential in one that is built by people who aren't technical, who aren't overly, as I told you, all the stuff you saw there and all the stuff you're going to see tomorrow, built by a sculptor, a photographer, team members who come back from non-technical backgrounds. So those of you excited about making money and being in the front end of stuff, start thinking just what businesses you can introduce us to, what training heads, what marketing heads, most importantly, what property people, property, so much money in property. Those of you excited just about building, you're going to see tomorrow when you get to the building side, the fact that you can be this creative, the fact that you can come up with ideas where walls disappear and roofs come off and bringing out the texture of a granite speaks to that creativity and speaks to so much on it. The builders, Alex is a German guy, give or take early 30s, no, mid 30s. And I told you, was a sculptor. Never worked on a computer in his life, worked on a sculptor, will never done anything big in it. And he has never been more excited. He's never enjoyed his job as much. He's around the family the whole time, doesn't have to go to the refinery and do all the smelting there. And I hope today has excited you for what this weekend is going to hold. We had to intro you, get you settled, get your ideas thinking, and already just in that solution, you can see in property, the objective. We want to sell property fast. Point of reference. People have brochures and those elements, and we allowed them to understand the space better, understand the point of reference. We made it a single player, but we gave it multiplayer outputs by plugging in Zoom, WhatsApp, Google Meets, etc. We said, imagine if I could, and brought that area to life. And we got game theory, because when can you fly around an estate? When can you move the sun to your bidding? When can you see how light will refract in a room, and you get a sense of it, and why those 5 things are so important, and why we curate both ours and other industries' builds. how that looks tomorrow. If there's any last questions that you want to do before we kick off, even if I don't get to them today, I'll kick off on them tomorrow. Thank you all for joining. It's been absolutely tremendous. The energy and from your chat has been incredible, and I'm thoroughly enjoying. I can just see it, as I say, that a balloon up over here. So thank you for that, and I'm really amped to work with this. And Jess, I love that comment. Yeah, I want to work with Meta. And you see what Miles said over here. My impression on this has changed. I would be most interested in exploring how we could work together. This is clearly an explosive opportunity. He's got his details there. And that's it. That's summated it. Miles, thank you for a comment like that, because that's what I wanted to do today. It's not goggles. It's not half cut off bodies. It's not the insipid way we've been taught to understand it. This is heavy hitting, industry changing, moving the needle solutions that can be applied to industries that they want to adopt. They want it. They want to change. Why? So I used that word in the very beginning today. It enhances what they currently have. Got a couple other questions firing through here just to see if there's anything I need to cover here. Oh, I love that. Just total enthusiasm about coming back tomorrow. Just a quick explanation of tomorrow. We got an action-packed morning. So the morning segment is very tough. I know from the Americans, it's going to be really tough for you guys. So I apologize on that behalf. We uncover about 15 industries in the morning, and I've got to do it in about 2 to 3 hours max. So we got to fly through those so we can get to some of the business opportunities that we can discuss and look at how we can work together. And then tomorrow, and that's a very important session at around 12 o'clock tomorrow, 10 o'clock UK time, give or take. We go through how we partner and how we work. And then in the afternoon, we teach you how to build. And we just touch on an intro to what to expect, how it looks, just enough, because remember, it's all in the portal you're getting anyway. So anyone who attends all 3 days, you get the portal either way, but I will cover those tomorrow. And yeah, how does it work? All of that will be covered tomorrow on those questions. Thank you, everybody. You've been an absolute awesome treat. Very encouraging audience. Love the fact that you guys are having a needle moved. Have a lovely rest of your evening and day for the Americans. Have a good rest of it, and we'll see you here all tomorrow. Mike, methodologist, logging off.